Hello and welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass, another Lore King Daddy, not Battle Report, Lore
Table Ass Podcast.
We've already been drinking. So we have on with us today Lore Daddy Kang, Messer Fletcher, also known as Skillen, also known as the high executive internal producer who's trapped in the intern room doing printing prints. And then
by internal, we mean he's in the designated hot dog room.
He's in the Spires hot dog. And Goblin Sex Queen Cass. What? Oh, damn, that's bad on me.
You know her, you love her.
Oh, this is already falling off the walls very quickly.
And I bet, like, it just started happening. Like, nobody even pushed off the edge. This is just all of a sudden a shit show.
I shot you people a message like 30 minutes, like, hey, we're gonna record in half an hour. That's when I started drinking.
Now I understand.
Yeah, so
second one you opened.
So for our wonderful listeners who are just tuning in, last episode we were like, oh, we're gonna jump Kang with a drunken lore episode. Kang has joined us to talk about the lore of Conquest because one. Not that I can't be bothered to read, there's a lot, and also I have very little time currently to read it. And two, they reorganized the lore page so it's actually easier to read. What's good. And
I actually can't be bothered to read.
Yep, that 3, and 4.
I just can't read.
As a bit, I usually tell people that I actually can't read, and I hire somebody to read Discord to me, and then I dictate my responses to them. People hate
it's
that.
It's not for the reasons you'd expect, though. It's because I have no eyes.
Yeah.
No, it's explicitly like I just don't want to. Like, I just don't want to know how to read.
I love how that's like.
Literacy is really a lifestyle choice.
Letters are scary. I understand.
It seems like such an unhinged response. It's like, and then I make them dictate my reply. It's like, oh,
yeah,
I wonder your shit's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to look normal out here. If you haven't noticed.
Okay, Lord Daddy Kang. That's what your official title is. That's how you'll be addressed for the remainder of the episode, or until I forget about it. I have a lore question for you. You ready?
Okay.
Also, do you want to plug anything at the start before we just bombard?
Wait, what's
bullshit?
the format? Because I think you've just decided that this is like a questions thing. I thought this is gonna be more of a oral history type.
Well, that's the best part. The first question is explain the origins of Conquest and the creation story.
Oh, okay. We'll start at Genesis then.
Yeah. You crucify the Neon Genesis Gold
Wait,
pack.
Conquest the guy, or Conquest the game, or Conquest the cult?
This sounds like Vegeta.
We got a little bit of a blooded situation on our hands here.
I guess we'll get into that. I mean, for plugs, I would just say come play in the Midwest, come play in Michigan. That's all. I want everyone to come over here and play because I don't want to travel, to be honest. Yeah.
Counterpoint.
Ypsilanti, Lansing. Come on. What's your counterpoint, Cass?
I don't like to travel either. So
Yeah,
right.
I think you should all come to Winnipeg, which has far less Conquest to play and is more remote and sucks.
I've also heard about
it rules.
Winnipeg greeting being a
Yeah, I love Winnipeg, but I do think that there's like a it sucks, it rules sort of dichotomy that exists even if you like it.
Kang, give you like BonkCon. I'm gonna get that ready for 2026, and then we're gonna go on Brazilian steak on the waterfront, and you'll be like, "Wow, a river," and then meat.
A river. I have like 7 of those where I live.
We'll get Brazilians and then we'll go for Brazilian.
Oh boy, I have too much hair to do that.
That's okay. You won't anymore after the Brazilian.
I have too much hair to do that.
Not when we're done.
No.
Yeah, that's the thing. You say that like that's. If anything, that's gonna be.
It's gonna be exactly like that. That scene from the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
But way worse.
Yeah, but way worse.
Yeah.
You thought he screamed? Ugh.
I'm here for it.
Not enough.
But no, I sorry, I stole your thunder here. Everyone should go play in the Midwest. I think, or go to hell.
Hell, Michigan is a
Basically.
place. I don't know if they have a Conquest scene there, though.
Wait a minute, there's a place called Hell, Michigan?
Yeah.
Oh, let me get that loud ass keyboard going because people were commenting about it last episode.
Clickety clack, clickety clack.
Here we go. Hell, Oh, fuck it. Michigan.
I'm gonna start playing dice.
Oh,
like
shit. That's a real
during
place.
the recording, so that there's extra clacking.
$400, 4-hour plane
Also,
ride.
so I can make a lot of money.
We should go to Hell, Michigan and have an event and just call it Hell Week.
I'm pretty sure it's just like a really small town of maybe like.
Oh, it's just between
I don't think
Lanigan and Detroit, so you know it's real fucked up.
Oh, okay.
Wait, it's between what, Greenland and Detroit? I think a lot of things are.
There's a lot.
Us getting onto lore, us not getting into anything.
Well, we're figuring out where Hell, Michigan is relative, triangulating it between Greenland and Detroit.
No, it's not
okay.
even. It's to the left of
not that
Detroit.
far. Yeah, it's between Lansing and Detroit. Okay, I see. It's been a while.
Aren't you at Art Arbor? Isn't that where some game store is where a bunch of you
No.
guys play?
Ann Arbor.
There is an Ann Arbor
Arbor.
game store somewhere, but I think the one most people know of is in Ypsilanti.
Is it Golden Rhino?
That's Golden Rhino. And then in Michigan, in Grand Rapids, where I am, is where my game store is Far Harbor Gaming.
Ooh, I heard good things about
Which
it.
Yeah.
overall clientele, inventory, location, all factors considered, which LGS would win in a fight?
Parking lot knives,
think-
go.
I think that Far Harbor Gaming would win because we're much meaner. We have families, so we have a lot more to lose, and we have a dog. So
So you're saying that the personification of the other LGS would be a virgin and a loner then? I just want to.
maybe.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Diplomatic. I mean, nobody's saying it, but we all know what was said. So,
We're not gonna get anywhere.
by,
Alright,
by subtraction, what wasn't said?
Genesis. You got. Who was fighting in Genesis? Because I know bits and pieces of this. I heard there was some
Alright.
some destruction guy and some life bringing guy, and they were duking it out. So tell me about it.
Okay. In the beginning, Genesis, all that good stuff. There are two beings, just two beings in the void of existence. Destruction and creation. They're brothers. They're siblings. They like to hang out. Creation likes to be, just a little bitch and make things. And destruction is just like, stop waking me up. He's like the older brother. He's like, stop waking me up. And then he smacks his Legos and just like goes back to sleep, leaving creation there.
So what you're saying, sorry to interject, what you're saying though quickly, just to clarify for the audience, Destruction is a cool badass, and Creation is a lame nerd.
Is this
Basically.
Okay.
Oh my god, I would love if we were like big enough and we like got fan art. I would love like cool punk biker jacket Destruction showing up and like kicking over nerdy Creations like Legos and
YouTube.
stopping them and then leaving.
It's like that YouTube thumbnail that's that middle-aged looking guy that's like 30 days nerd to bad boy or whatever, and it's like this normal looking ass guy in the left frame, and then the right frame he's got like his glasses off and a double rider jacket, and he's like scowling. Hold on.
But basically, for untold eons, Destruction kicked Creation's Legos over and over. Just onto the floor, all over the place. Creation was just like, oh, fuck. But eventually, it gets to this point where Creation wakes up from his nap
His Lego
after
bender?
Yeah. And Creation's like, nah, not this time, fam. And they start fighting, and Creation thrusts its like hand or whatever it is, because they didn't
Appendage.
describe them. Appendage into Destruction and creates something there, which like actively wounds Destruction on such a deep level that he's like, oh fuck! And then he literally kills his friend, his sibling, and shatters Creation into millions upon millions of pieces, which creates the cosmos.
So let me get
Those
this.
become stars.
Let me get this straight. Destruction couldn't take the back shots, and then had to reverse crush creation, what then
So-
turned into a bad diarrhea.
What I got out of this is that destruction is, destruction is like chilling in the K-hole, and that K-hole got violated by his little bro.
His little bro's just out here playing with Legos constantly.
And I just want to give a shout out to listener of the week, Thunder Rider.
No! Thunder Rider Kid, stop listening! Oh my god, get your ferret! This is gonna get bad quick!
But after destruction, just obliterates his sibling, it's like, oh shit, where's mom? He's
Wait,
just
they
like,
have
I
mom?
can't take. No, there isn't. He's like, I can't take this, and he's like, I'm gonna go back to sleep. So, in that brief moment, destruction goes back to resting and recovering, while creation is just dust on the wind, quite literally. And in that void of nothing happening, balance is created. A new form, a third sibling, is made. Balance.
What is this? The fucking who was the lady who got pregnant with Jesus? Is this
Mother Mary.
No, it wasn't Mother Teresa. She was old.
It was Mother Mary Magdalene.
It was not Mother Mary Magdalene. I thought it was not. Her name
You
was,
can look that up, you bitch.
It 100% is.
I'm already like 7 beers deep, and I'm still drinking.
a weird relationship with religion here. That's the one.
But balance was much weaker than both of the siblings, but it's just like, oh shit. I'm aware. I'm a thing. And these two guys, if they ever woke up or if, they recoalesce back together, I'd be fucked. It's it's the hierarchy of siblings. The youngest one always gets destroyed. Just like, smack.
And the middle child gets like kind of fucked up, but has their own like existential journey and becomes their own person and rises and falls upon their own merits, and that's balance.
Yeah, sort of like that.
Oh, okay.
Sort of. But what balance does is he looks up at the cosmos of just his brother, his sibling, obliterated, and just all this, and he's like, you know what? You need to stay there. So I shouldn't say he, but like balance goes, all right, let's get things turning, and literally starts the spinning of the cosmos, which keeps all the shards of creation in place. He creates gravity, essentially, the pull of the universe.
Oh, so that's why the Earth spins. It isn't
That's
because
why it's not the Earth, it's why the universe spins.
is the universe flat in this world?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, fuck! God damn it!
What shape is it?
Yeah, was it on the back of a turtle and like lifted up by three elephants or some shit?
We're about to get there. We're about to get there.
Shit! Okay, keep going.
So after setting creation spinning, all of creation spinning to keep them in their place, they see the sleeping destruction like, you're a problem. So they decide to big spoon creation.
Okay.
They curl around because destruction is like curled around this giant gaping wound that creation put in it. So balance starts to completely envelop them with its being, like just big spoon all over, and then eventually it's completely surrounded. Destruction is now at the core of balance, and balance takes all the dust and things that are in the void from creation's shattering, like the little particles, not the big shards, and uses that to bind itself into a hard layer. And once it's done, balance now completely is just a ball. It surrounds destruction, and that is how the world is born.
Wait a minute. So in the center of Ea, so the Earth's crust is balance. The center of it is destruction, and then the universe and stars and galaxies is just creation spinning the fuck around and unable to regain its senses because it's on the tilt-a-whirl, just vomiting.
Essentially.
Oh, sweet. Stratos, you dirty little boy. Ooh.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think it's a really unique creation myth, even though it probably isn't unique, but it's very cool and very fun and very accessible. So, But that is essentially how the world came to be. There's a lot more after that, but that is the core principle of how Ea was made.
Okay, Madame and gentle
Gentle Giant.
Skillen, whatever the fuck your name is. Yeah, you can tell it's going. Do you guys have a question, or I'm gonna keep pounding Kang for like more shit?
Pound him out.
I don't get pounded. I do the pounding, sir.
Oh man, we are gonna have a great time when we pound together.
Yeah, Pound Town.
I'm giving Skillen an in here to interrupt, or is he gonna chillax? Put your feet up.
No, unfortunately, you are giving Skillen an opening, but not realizing that I'm going to come in with some kind of weird frauding joke in a minute if we don't.
Okay, then tell me about the four horsemen and the war of the apocalypse of war hosts. What the fuck is this?
The Four Horsemen and the War of Hosts. Okay. I see you're going off the lore website as well.
I sure am, because that's how I get my headers.
Okay. So, let's see. The first horseman to appear, that would be famine. But while destruction was encased in balance, he was just like feeling it. He had just been on a bender. He just like destroyed his sibling. He's like, oh man.
Oh, I got so he's having a rough morning.
Yeah. He's not awake. What's up?
I was just going to point out for the listener that one lore detail that Kang glossed over, unfortunately, and it's okay, there's a lot. You're going to miss things. Famine's nickname, Fammy.
Fammy?
Anyway, go ahead.
Fammy the Famine.
But during the slumber, because it's sleeping to recover, it thinks of gnawing and trying to get its way out because it feels the compression of balance around it. It's like one of those Asperger beds, you know? You can feel the tightness around you.
What the fuck? An Asperger bed? What the fuck is that?
You not know? Oh my god.
The hug box?
They don't. Yeah, I think that it's all just autistic people now. I don't think they call people Asperger's anymore.
Yeah, I was like, Jesus Christ.
No. Asperger's was like the syndrome. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I'm now looking at hamburger beds. By the way, is that the thing that destruction's in, the hamburger bed? Oh my god! All of it is a food metaphor.
If we can find a way to make it that destruction is in a human-sized dog bed, I can get like 15 people playing this game.
So wait, is creation spooning destruction, or are they both spooning? Is it a double spoon?
Balance
is spooning all the way around.
Yeah, and then creation is being chucked in the universal chair watching this happen.
Yeah, creation's in shards spinning like on the merry-go-round. That is
You're in the cuck shards.
Yeah, the cuck turtle tilted out.
But because of
I feel bad for everybody.
But because of the pressure that destruction felt, it wanted out, but it wasn't awake. So the wound that was spewing quote-unquote blood and innards birthed famine. Famine manifested from the blood and the thoughts of destruction.
Yeah, because he's hungry for his hot dog bed. Or his hamburger bed. Fuck! We haven't got to the hot dog spire yet, I'm sorry.
But famine was born and started devouring destruction to try and release it, but it was just an all-consuming desire to consume. Destruction, even still asleep, is like, oh shit, this hurts. Started to raise its own body temperature and create the molten core that would surround it. Which, you know...
So it's like those bees?
Sort of, yeah. And then that spooked famine, who's like, I don't want to get fried. So it started eating its way out of balance.
Out of the bees.
Yeah.
So would famine be like an STD?
I wouldn't say that. It's a parasite.
Okay.
It's trying to escape and just consume everything.
Oh, so balance now has a tapeworm inside of it. Ugh.
Now the bees is this a Wu-Tang Clan type scenario?
I don't know. I don't believe so.
So in Japan, there are these giant hornets, right? And basically what happens is they just kill bees. And so these bees, as a self-defense mechanism, they somehow are aware that their body temperature, they can survive like temperatures like 1 degree higher than these hornets. So what they do is they like all like ball up onto these hornets and then like basically just like vibrate to raise their body temperature until it's like 1 degree away from them dying, but it's enough to kill these giant wasps that otherwise would just fuck them up.
Yeah, they'll attack them and pile on them to do that.
By the way, you should go. I've seen those videos on YouTube. They're actually quite enjoyable to watch, just because it's like, wow, this is actually really cool.
A bunch of bees jump in and just cook one off.
Yeah, they're cooking a hornet.
Bunch of the famines cook one off. Yeah, no, actually, it's balanced famining or cooking the famine.
I'll interject with all the other horsemen's nicknames as well as we get to them.
Thank you.
But as famine started to devour balance began to shift over and over, creating layers and layers of itself that are more dense, harder to dig through, and things like that. And it would crush pieces of famine within it. But what essentially happens is the core where destruction is located becomes metal around it, like because inside is the molten core of the earth surrounding destruction, and around that is just a case of metal to try and contain famine, which is called the syllabaster.
What the? Okay, sure, that's a word.
Yeah,
is that an actual thing? Is the syllabaster an actual thing, or is that just in the lore?
It's in the lore. I don't know if it's a real thing, but I'm pretty sure it is it's a word. It means something.
Yeah, what am I trying to say?
No.
I mean, all this lore is just taking cool words and then recontextualizing them. I don't mean that as a criticism in the slightest, but
yeah. But as this was being made, though, famine still escaped the prison. So the syllabaster didn't keep famine inside, but it is now there to keep destruction within. And famine's just, fucking around on balance, eating pieces of it just all over, just destroying the exterior skin, which, is kind of bad, because if balance is destroyed, destruction is loose, and destruction now reigns, and perhaps all of creation is now gone, since the creation is like shattered and all that.
Still in that Tilted world vomiting.
Yeah, wait, so who's getting eaten out by famine?
Balance.
Creation. Like it's the skin, the innards, all of it's just being devoured by pieces of famine. Because famine is trying to devour everything.
We need that meme with the
the girl saying "whoa" and then she's thinking base.
Well, I was thinking of the one where it's like, who need they create Tussie eaten out, and then it's the OMG me thing.
I would argue that I would probably go for Cosmosissy in this.
Would you declare this is the Heaven Ussy for creation's actual name?
No, not yet.
Oh no,
Heaven Ussy is for real.
Oh boy.
But as this is happening, there are shards of creation that look down upon Aya or Balance, and they're like, "Oh shit, that's not good," because they're diametrically opposed to the forces of destruction, just in general. And they see famine devouring Balance, and like, "Huh, not cool." So the greatest shard, probably the largest, creates an entire host of shards of creation. Some that were sentient, some that were just like animalistic, some that would serve. He creates the celestial host and becomes the head of it. He's the leader.
Okay, hold on. Cass, what is this largest shard's name? You have to name it. I have a name, but I want to know your name.
The largest shard?
Yeah, that has this celestial host.
Oh, Big Pete.
Oh, I was going to go with Carl Sagan, but okay. Big Pete sounds good.
Okay. Well,
we had different ideas there.
This is the second horseman. This is Conquest.
Whoa! Big
His
Conquest.
nickname, Conkers.
The incarnate soul of creation, and they ride to balances, ride to save balance. They become the multiple fronts that destroy and behead the multiple heads of famine, pushing it back and culling this force that wants to just devour everything.
So I have a quick question.
Sure, what's up?
These horsemen, they are like fluid, like because you keep describing famine. It's like this endless hunger. It has multiple heads. Like, is this like some weird demon hydra thing? Like as a physical
No, man,
form?
it's
Or
a
is it like
big guy,
more eldritch,
big horse,
cosmic meta
flying through
horror?
the air.
I mean, they're like personifications of.
So this is more like cosmic
Yeah.
horror. It's like,
Yeah, they
like
are,
this is like the biblically accurate angel level of crap of like.
No. So it's a big horse, big guy in a cloak. Done.
Done.
It's like
They're
you
all-
have.
Easy.
There are art. There is art of it, I should say. There are
Yes.
personified visuals of them.
Hold on, let me go.
But they are personifications and creations of just ideas and things like that. But they are also physical. They're just on a scale that can't really be felt.
So it's
in the
Cthulhu on a horse.
Big guy.
Not,
Big
not
guy.
a literal horse. A horseman is being used in a euphemistic way. As
So it's like
they're-
it's like a centaur type situation, is what you're trying to say. Then
euphemistic in that it's describing
it's like it's a horseman.
They're-
He's a
So
horse.
what are they riding
Man.
in?
Riding
they're
your ball.
It's a
Ew.
euphemism for what?
Imagine
They're writing belief.
imagine
Mm.
if a sick Lamborghini Countach like power slid up to you, and then the door jackknifed open, and there was a centaur in the driver's seat.
But I think Mass might have posted it. But the
I'll
yeah,
drop it
there's
in
this
general
one.
as well. There you go.
Yeah. The Conquest is on the left, war, death, and then famine is the one on the right.
Yeah, fucking Christ! If that thing came at me, I'd be like, Jesus Christ! Fucking run!
Wait, I just opened this up. Which one's which?
On the left is Conquest, and on the right is famine. The two middle ones are war and death.
Is it war then death or death then war?
If you're going from left to right, it's Conquest, war, death, famine.
Oh man, I don't like. The only one I want to be friends with is Conquest. That guy looks like he might not fuck me up.
I wouldn't be afraid of any of them, truthfully.
Oh yeah,
I
you want to
would
hang out
think-
with famine. You've seen those tentacles.
Why does
If one of those
death
took
look
a
like a
swing at me,
spider's?
butthole?
It looks like a
If one
spider's
of the-
monster.
if one of the horsemen took a swing at me, I would just kill it. I would just break its neck.
I don't think some of these even have necks to break.
It's okay. Everything has a neck of sorts.
Yeah,
Just hit it with the
that's,
fly swatter. Easy.
Exactly.
The
Yeah,
cosmic fly swatter.
I would simply defeat it. Is the point?
Okay, please continue. This Conquest shows up with his host of other pieces of Conquest and is like, "Let's go, bitch!" and fights
The
famine.
Celestial host, yeah, they're fighting famine, keeping it from devouring all of creation and devouring the rest of the cosmos as it stretches out into space. And then while this is happening, it's conflict. It's two forces almost equally matched, able to fight one another.
Can I interject right here? I feel like I've
Sure.
seen this before. What's about to happen? Are you telling me
I
a
feel like
third thing
every
is going to
time-
show up?
One of us interjects, Kang dies a little bit more.
He knew
But
what he was
as
getting
this
into.
As this is happening, Destruction hears and feels the conflict going on. And even though he's asleep, he's like, I imagine, I think, I dream. And from the dreams that are drums, fire, battle, the clash of weapons.
Are you telling me this is the
war,
drums in the deep?
war is born and comes, like, explodes out of destruction and out of creation as a bloody-handed third horseman.
And it announces, my nickname is Kiki, actually.
fuck. Fammy, Conky, and then Kiki. Yeah.
No, it's Fammy, Conquers, and Kiki.
Conquers, yes. Okay, I should write these down. This will be on the test later.
Good. But when war is born, war starts taking the blood of destruction and turns it into its own host.
Oh, tell me about that. That sounds sweet. But also, Jesus Christ.
He's creating lesser beings, much like Conquest took the lesser shards of
Address
Conquest.
Conky by his real name. Was it Conky? Fuck.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to say that.
Hey, what were we talking about?
What's Conquest's name again? I'm writing these down. For
Conquers.
Conquers.
Conquers, like the Bad Fur Day.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great game. And then Kiki. Okay, delivery service. Delivered this war right to your nuts. Heyo.
But as the host of war, which became known as the host of destruction, what people assume demons are, they start fighting the celestial host, which in turn makes it so that the celestial host can't address famine as well, which means famine starts running rampant again, continuing its destruction. It is the strongest horseman.
Someone should get that famine to a Chinese buffet.
Famine is just like able to destroy everything, and they can't keep it corralled. And as famine continues just to do whatever the fuck it wants, balance is just like, oh fuck fam, and starts crying. This creates a flow of water. It creates actual life. It creates the next thing, which isn't a horseman. It's just life.
What?
Yeah. So as balance cries, life is born, and balance is like, oh fuck you, I'm keeping this alive. This is my thing. I made this, not you.
You remember being like grade 1 and you like made something you thought proud of it and you're like, this is mine, no other little toddler can break it.
Yep. It distracted famine and like, here, have this, and threw bits of itself into the heavens so famine would go after it, so that it could preserve life and keep life from being devoured by famine. And
Balance is a sensitive and a trick.
Life grew and bloomed and just started to expand all across balance. And what happened is that it essentially started to choke famine, because it would grow so quickly that famine could not devour it enough.
I think this is one of Fammy's kinks, being choked.
Yeah, I mean, with the
It's somebody's kink, all right.
It would turn into various forms of life, all sorts of plants, everything, just too much for famine to actually catch up with and devour. And this is what essentially turned the war. It allowed balance to smother destruction and make it sleep deeper. It would make it so it couldn't wake up. It couldn't create new horsemen. What essentially happened...
Hold on. So without intervention, we could have like 8, 12 horsemen? Like there could have been Morsemen?
There could have been. There could have been. It's all consistent. It's like war. Like war will continue, and still, it is what is it? The onus of creation. Like,
so we could have had like boredom and
depression and just anxiety. Self-loathing could have been in there. Guilt.
It would have to. If anything, it would have to be like larger arcing archetypes.
Oh no, it occurred in modern day. They kind of seem to be the modern thing in Western society.
Well, see, I think the thing about abstract concepts is at the highest level, there's really only a few. So if you made enough of them, eventually you'd have to get a little bit more specific. So like first you'd have joy, but eventually you'd have ennui.
Yeah, you could. That's totally fair.
You have sorrow, and then self-afflicted sorrow is two different things.
I want to play the boredom faction.
Oh my god.
Well, according to some people, that's City Sorcerer Kings right now.
Ooh,
not just the lore master, but the burn master, which
Big Daddy Burn Master over here.
I don't know, man. But as life started to spread across balance, and they took the offensive, the celestial host started winning, all that good stuff. Destruction was like being smothered in its sleep, but it could still hear life. It could hear the pitter patter of feet, how the rush of water. It could hear everything growing, and like, holy fuck, it does not like children at all.
Oh man, brother. Oh man.
It dreamed of silence and stillness and just nothing. And from that comes death.
It made a third kid. Jesus.
Yeah, it made the last incarnate soul of destruction, death. And holy shit, death destroyed continents worth of life when it was born. It just came up and started touching shit, and everything died.
Was he like on the riding lawnmower, and he was just like, "Hey, get me another beer. I got more to do."
But as the first living creature died, like, Balance cried out and was like, "No, fuck you! Why?" And like, it was such a cry of terror and hopelessness that it echoed across the entire universe. And death just started going ham. And at this point, this is when the war turns a third time at this point. And destruction is now winning. But because of that cry, that hopeless scream of pain,
Simpering, pathetic.
yeah, Balance attracted other creatures of balance that it didn't even know were around.
What the fuck is he got born
Where did
out
they
of his
come
two
from?
brothers? Fucking, and now he has other
No,
things he didn't even know was
This
around.
is DEI.
They're other creatures of balance. They are not balance. They're not siblings to balance. Enter the dragons.
Ooh, okay. I have some questions before we get to the dragons, because the dragons actually really interest me. But
Okay.
because you've done this initial part, okay. A while back, there was released the factions to come. There was the Abyssal Hosts, there was the Famine one, there was the Celestial Body or whatever. You know, there's all these names. We know the Abyssal Host, who we haven't talked about yet, what is the Uroni, became the Uroni. So, like, it's really interesting to see in the lore that each of these greater ideas turns into a faction. Like, what was Conquest? He had the Celestial Host. Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
And then
the Uroni were the Abyssal Host, but also some of the Celestial Host that fought back, essentially. So
Conquest has a Celestial Host faction that we don't have out yet. War has, from my understanding, demons?
That is the Abyssal Host.
Oh, so the Uroni are actually creatures of war from the Four Horsemen of War.
Yeah, they were blood of destruction and everything, but like, as we know, their time in the elemental planes being constantly forged and reforged and turned into other things, they are no longer creatures of destruction. They are now their own thing. They're elemental beings with balance. Like, the whole enlightenment that they're searching for is them becoming more balanced.
Nice.
So,
Okay, go ahead.
it's not Conquest lore, but in my own personal spiritual belief system, I think that everyone has a number associated with them that is the number of times that they've resurrected as a rat in the course of their existence. And I don't think I know how, but I think with that information you could make determinations about the nature of that person. So I feel like there's an element of rat number to the Uroni, like the repeated destruction and reattainment of further enlightenment. Anyway, just a parallel between my personal cosmology and the mythology of this game.
I'll make a comment on that for just a moment. It depends on how you view rats, to be honest. Like, whether that number's good or bad. And with the Uroni,
Well, I couldn't know.
They do have something like that. That's the Domoro Damashi. Those are Uroni who have been sent back to the anvil of creation, the constant churning of the prison.
Why does everything that you're saying sound like lyrics from Cannibal Corpse? Like, just throwing that out there, you're like, yeah, you know where like balance came from? It came from the bleeding gash in creation or destruction. Or I'm just like, oh, this is metal.
At the heart of every metal guy is a gay nerd.
That's true.
Oh yeah, totally.
He's just like, he's been listening to Cannibal Corpse for way too long. He's like, I can make a game out of this.
Essentially. But yeah, that's any more questions about that? I'm curious.
Famine, they got some fish people from my understanding as a faction. I don't know what's Death's faction. Do we know if Death has a faction?
Yep.
Or it's just Death?
We know that very well what faction is. That'll actually be something that gets addressed later on.
What? Then what is it?
They're called
So
Death Daddies.
No, I didn't hear him. Say it again.
The Old Dominion.
Death Daddies.
Oh yeah. I'm like,
but it's
I'm pretty
also
drunk.
It's also not just the Old Dominion, but I can't speak about that.
Oh, NDA my butthole. Nah,
So, what does Spires fall under? Like, if I'm looking
We're
at
going to
this,
talk about once we're done with the war.
Okay.
Post, we get to talk about Spires and what.
okay, Spires are the main characters of the playable factions. So
Pretty
they're
much,
the,
yeah.
They're the main douchebags of the fucking factions.
Post.
It is wild. It is like Spires. Oh, you're a faction in Aya. Guess what? You've been fucked in the ass by Spires at some point. Sucks to be you.
okay,
They've
just
had
think of it
fingers
like this:
at some point.
if you're reading Conan and you're anybody but Conan,
You're dead.
that's how Spires is.
Yeah.
I incidentally am wearing my Any Faction in EA t-shirt right now.
Wait a minute. Take a photo of yourself and send it to me. I want to see this shirt.
I don't actually have that shirt, but I don't think anyone is going to actually connect the bit that I was going for there, so it's fine. Maybe an astute listener will. Somebody in the comments will be like, Cassandra, that was very predictable of you.
All right, so we got these dragons. Kang, tell me about the dragons in the Age of the Elders.
We're gonna finish up the War of Hosts with.
Oh fuck, we're not done yet.
Bitch.
Keep going.
Shut the fuck up.
So the dragons heard this cry and they came rushing because they're a bunch of curious little kittens.
Nerds.
Yeah.
Anyone who's not a Spire is a nerd, and the Spires are the nerdiest of nerds.
The
dragons are just nerds. That's just how it is.
The dragons were born from the powers of destruction and creation mingling just by chance. So when the two powers fuse, like a shard of creation spinning in the earth or spinning in the void meets blood of destruction or something like that, just some sort of meeting of two halves, and they coalesce together. That is when a true dragon is made.
Yeah, don't fuck with
And
those things.
these creatures are stronger than both their halves. They're stronger than balance by far as a whole. And they are just like they're like Stone Cold Steve Austin fighting a nerd, an actual nerd. They will pick him up and throw him on the ground.
Oh.
That's what they do to a bunch of celestial or abyssal things. They just like, oh,
They hit him with the Stone Cold Stunner. And then they
An unbeatable maneuver.
But they arrive and see this. They arrive and see the two hosts fighting, and they're like, "What the fuck?" They're not
Hit
in
them both in the stomach and give them each a Stone Cold Stunner, and then they climb up the top rope and drink 2 beers at once.
and then spray them all over the crowd.
They're not even doing that yet. They're just like, this is boring. Until they find life. That's what gets them on the side of balance, on the side of the celestial host.
So riles them up.
You're like, holy shit, this is super cool. I want to study this. As you said, they're nerds.
Correct.
I hate them so much.
They're buff nerds. So they decide, all right, we'll help you guys. And with their help, they decapitate the heads of famine and seal it away in a black hole.
Where they belong.
And they defeat War and seal him within Aya in another prison.
I could imagine
And
they
then-
gave War like a puzzle, and he's like trying to figure out how to put the square in the circle and couldn't do it.
But-
And the time limit went off.
No, it all
and he
just
was
goes in the square.
"Ah, sucks to be
Well,
you,
see-
man. You guess you're in the
See, what
prison."
they-
And he's like, "Oh, okay."
It's sort of like that, actually. They used his own elements, like his own conflicting nature, against him to seal him in a prison.
Oh my god, they literally just played him into himself.
Wait.
How stupid he is.
When you say like the heads of famine, like how many heads?
Well, did you see the picture? There's a lot of fucking heads on that thing. Like, Cass loves famine.
There's essentially an infinite amount of heads, but they managed to decapitate it and seal it in a black hole to keep it.
I feel
So,
like that
actually-
black hole's doing a lot of the lifting here.
They just
It is
pushed
now.
him in.
But you know what's also really funny?
Well, in
That's a-
space,
Got
actually,
stuck in a
things-
locker.
things are weightless, so actually nothing is doing the lifting.
Speaking of the weightlessness of space, those heads of famine are still floating around.
Ew. Someone
Like
clean that up.
Unicron at the end of the Transformers movie.
That'll come up later.
Oh,
I can't. I did
So
look it up.
famine got shoved into the locker.
Yep.
Gotcha. That's
Yep.
the key
Famine got
part.
shoved into a locker. War got
tricked.
Oh.
Not even tricked. He just got a thought.
Confused
That's
by
stupid.
the match shapes puzzle.
It's like
Yeah,
Idiocracy, where he like covers the mat shapes from the other guy.
and death. They defeated him by imprisoning him outside of the universe, but also still have a place in balance where there's like a connection. Like his prison is there, but also physically not.
What the fuck? They had to do like some. They had to like go fight this super nerd, and they had to like actually beat him at his own game, and he was like, "Oh, fuck you guys."
That's what always happens. If a nerd fights you with a computer, you have to go in the computer to beat him. That's just
The dragons digitalized and like fought him in some Neoscape.
yeah.
So what
mean-
happened?
Generally speaking, if you just like break the keyboard over them and use like the wire to like strangle them, then you don't have to worry about the hacker man powers.
But also during this, the abyssal host is confined to the elemental cores, which is what eventually turns them into the Aroni.
Ooh.
So
After
I would
this,
Would you
Right.
call it like the anvil
Just like
of
to quickly-
creation?
I did.
That rules.
I would just like to quickly urge our listeners to listen to the song "Having a Roni" by Vanilla Ice, and just to think about that whenever you like think about or see or talk about the Aroni.
But after the three other horsemen were locked away and their host turned into unwitting coals to fuel the anvil of creation, Conquest and its host were what was left. And Conquest, being, kind of cool, was just like, I know that if I stay as I am, more will come of this and it will be bad. And they had an agreement with the dragons. It's like, you helped us, you saved balance. Please shatter me so I may watch the fruits of my labors in my own quote unquote death.
So a Lindsay Sterling dragon showed up and shattered me.
No, the dragons tore Conquest limb from limb.
Oh Jesus!
And
So which
Way more brutal.
which Mastodon album are we up to now? Probably like Blood Mountain or maybe Crack the Sky.
I want to go. Blood.
and the
I wish a
shards
bunch of dragons would tear me limb from.
the various pieces and shards of Conquest rained down upon Ea and became, shards and things that we see that eventually become gods that we'll talk about. The rest of the host was broken and shattered as well, but scattered across the void, returning to their parts. But also, if they resisted, they were also put inside the elemental cores.
Oh, so they had a little timeout room when you got bad, and they're like, get a spanking into the timeout room.
Yeah, that was
Get
the
in the
elemental
core.
Yeah, get in there. And that is essentially the conclusion of the War of Hosts. And the tagline is, "The time of the horsemen is over."
The time of the orc is now.
Yeah.
I like the tagline, "Get in there, nerd."
Just shoving famine in the dark hole, the black hole locker again. It's like, you stupid idiot.
But this is what starts the dragons in the Age of Elders. The dragons, because they were so hyped up about life, wanted to be able to watch it and experience it.
So they're voyeurs.
So they sort of are, in their own
That
way.
explains a lot, actually.
So they wanted to unravel the mysteries of life and like the cosmos themselves, because they were inquisitive creatures. They're nerds. So they elected 2 of them to remain as these massive, powerful cosmos-bending creatures, Scoliosis and Umbrasyl.
Scoliosis? You do not want that.
It's Scolio or Scolosis. Or something.
No.
I can't remember one of their
Scoliosis is this guy's name, and that's all I'm going to refer to him as. And Umbrasyl?
see.
Umbrasyl, that's a fine name, but Scoliosis and Umbrasyl are great.
Okay, so like
Scoliosis and Umbrasyl.
I fucked up the name. Where is it? I think it's
No coming back from this one.
Oh yeah.
No wonder they left him there up in the cosmos, because he wasn't going to be moving that much anyway.
Scoliosis.
Feel bad for him.
And his sister Lordosis.
Yeah.
It's supposed to essentially be light and dark, and Umbrasyl is the wife. Scolio is the
Scoliosis.
Yeah. Oh god, I fucked that up.
No,
I'll get a photo.
Yeah, there's a photo of them. It's amazing.
Well, I'll put it in general chat while we're doing this.
I must say the art for all of this is actually like really cool.
Yeah. Look at them. Scoliosis and his wife Umbrasyl.
He does have some curved bony plates going on here.
Yeah, because he fucking has scoliosis. Because that's how we have this
Tell me-
disease
tell
going
me how
on.
them
Because it's fucking
plates
dragon.
But they essentially would come down and create bodies for themselves out of material on the planet, on balance. They took rock and water and things like that, elemental
trees
things.
and like moss and a
Yeah,
bit of
they
sludge and some
turtles.
random ass raw dirt. They're like, yeah,
Quite
put that
literally.
in there.
Quite literally, they made bodies for themselves so they could contain their celestial might. Because they're, like we were talking about earlier, these are manifestations of concepts or things like that. These are galaxy exploring creatures.
So we just
that
turned Gurren
live.
Lagann into like its smaller version of Gurren.
Yeah, they sacrificed a portion of their own power to be able to fit inside these bodies. And that is,
Okay.
like they started experiencing life and watching it and things like that.
I'm just really distracted by the name Umbrasyl because it sounds like a portmanteau of Umbra and imbecile.
Let me see if I can find.
No,
those real
Umbrasyl
names.
sounds like a medicine from a video game that lets you move through the shadows.
Oh. This is
Get in the
nice
shadow
spell. You
of
have the Umbrasyl spell.
Oh, I shouldn't have searched Celestial Dragons. It just brings up One Piece. Fuck.
Scoliosis is in that one too.
Oh no. I will have
That's
to.
the least bad accidental search result probably ever to occur during this podcast.
Oh
I
man.
know. Like,
Oh man,
I
there have been some bad
remember-
ones.
Oh, I remember. Oh, the only reason I know their names is because I saw it from the artist's artwork. He named it the names they were supposed to be, but I don't actually know if the names are said anywhere in the entire lore. Is the problem?
It just says dragon, 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 blah blah blah, dragon, dragon.
Yep. But as time goes on, while the dragons are now living on Ea, the abyssal host, like remnants of it, still pop up from time to time and are corrupting civilizations that appear on the world. Because, evolution and all that is a thing in Conquest. So monkeys evolve.
I quit the game. I don't agree with that.
Evolution is real. It's creationism.
I'm finished. Yeah.
Ea is flat.
I don't need that DEI bullshit being pushed on me.
I believe in a true flat Ea.
As these civilizations grow and become actual things, the abyssal host either host actually, abyssal or celestial, would corrupt them.
Oh.
So the dragons end up going to work and destroying that civilization. And that's why there's so many ruins on Ea that aren't human or aren't even exile, that predate them.
Oh, so like the remnants of those abyssal and celestial hosts, but were not either torn apart by dragons or shoved into a box, fucked around a little bit, making their own little civilizations. The dragons showed up and just like went blah, 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 and
they're like,
Get
they're
the
like,
fuck
They
out
got
of here,
bullied by
nerd.
the nerds.
yeah, the nerds are doing the bullying now.
oh no,
Much
That's
like
worse.
real life.
Yeah.
And at one point, when there's no new civilization, exiles show up. They just start
Yeah.
hanging around. They create their little outpost because they were also a galaxy-spanning civilization at one point. At one point. But this is just a little research outpost to them. And, only a few spires are created. And the dragons, they're like, huh, these guys seem
We got
okay.
termites.
Yeah, they're not doing any. They're not doing anything. They're not.
That was their mistake.
Yeah, it was.
Little did they know.
They're just like, okay, whatever. They ignore the exiles for a long time. But when the exiles start coming in mass, like,
Wait, they're coming inside me. Shit.
Yeah,
Damn, I didn't know I was getting back.
You're way cooler than I thought.
I should have said arriving in mass.
Oh wow, that's even worse.
Wow, that's classy. But
Look, you got to get
The
that
Gentleman's Club
biomass
is
somehow.
open for all exiles.
But
I'm
when they
arriving.
when they started fleeing from their homeworld and arriving on Ea, they started taking note. Like, what the fuck is this shit? This is now an infestation.
The termites.
So we'll switch perspectives for a second. We'll go to the exiles now, because holy shit, they are just fleeing from whatever is fucking up their homeworld. This bunch of nerds that made this outpost now have the highest ranking people in their society, the nobles, arriving at their doorstep and going, all right, you need to have a home for us. Like, what? This is the backwater research station. We don't have anything.
Imagine
That's
if a
okay
bunch of
here.
celebrities showed up at like a hillbilly's house and said like, "All right, get running water.
This
let's
is
go."
ours now.
Yeah.
No, like in Antarctica.
Oh God.
Like the president of the
We
United
own this
States
now.
shows up. Yeah, they show up at Antarctica and it's like, we need a civilization here now. So that's essentially how that begins, and they're just flooded. So spires start cropping up all over the planet.
Are they made out of
fact-
hot dogs?
Oh no,
Yes.
spires are
No.
made. They're made out of whatever is around. They're living things. They grow,
Oh.
and it takes.
so, for instance,
hot dogs.
if you were building a spire around a place where there were a lot of hot dogs,
I mean, hot dogs are made
it stands to reason.
hot dogs are made of dead material. I'll say that.
Yeah,
So-
and so is the spire out of the hot dogs.
No, spires are made of living material. They grow and have like bonuses of what they want to do as they grow.
Right,
they
but the
have
spires,
What
the
do-
spires
what do the
themselves,
spire
the
eat?
building is a sentient being.
Yeah.
not a sentient being. It's like a worm.
Well, that is hot. Oh, they are hot dogs. Okay, that is even worse in so
Um,
many ways.
You can feed a spire anything,
Yeah,
anything
hot
organic
dogs.
that it can use to grow and add to its own.
Hot dogs
mass.
all the way down.
That
baby.
rules.
They're also like trees in that they have deep roots that dig into the ground and search for material to use. That's
Like
why
hot dogs?
like
There's
biomass
underground hot dog.
The big long
veins and
dried up hot
deposits
dog that shoots
in
into the
EA.
ground, sniffing around for hot dogs like truffles.
But as the spire grows taller, it usually means it has more resources, stronger, things like that. And it takes hundreds of years for that to happen.
It really
But,
is kind of like a termite nest where it's like, yeah, you see the part on top, but the part on underneath, that's where the real business is
That's
happening.
where the real hot dogs are being.
Sure is. You're never gonna escape the hot dog allegory, by the way.
That's perfectly fine. But
That's
as all of
Stelios'
these
dragon.
people, as all these people are arriving, this happens in a very short span of time, so it's a noticeable thing that happens. And then near the end of it, when all of it's at its zenith, the sovereign arrives and turns around and just collapses to the ways. He just cuts off the rest of the homeworld. He's like, "Fuck you! I got my bag. You guys can die."
I have a question about this though. He goes. What does he arrive through? Is this like a Stargate? Like, what are we talking about?
It's a hot dog.
All we know is it's called the Ways, and it's how they cross time and space.
Wait, so they can time travel too?
I mean, to be able to travel the distances they go, they have some sort of time mechanic to it. Because otherwise, like, that's just how traveling across the universe would have to work. Arriving at some place with no time being spent in the form of travel requires some sort of time manipulation. Like, he stepped through the
depending on
waves.
how you look at it. I suppose it's like, if it like folds space, then it'd just be like whatever time it would take to travel like through a doorway.
It's most likely what happened. It's very likely that's sort of what it is. It's folding 2 points together. But also, like, he said fuck it and closed it and destroyed it.
Oh, he broke it. He didn't even like keep it around and put a lock on it. He just like took a sledgehammer to it after he came through and was like started beating it to death.
The words used were collapsed. So that nothing can follow through.
It's like an oblivion portal that no longer work.
Yeah, dooming the rest of their kind to whatever calamity had befallen the homeland.
Oh, Jesus.
So
okay. The Spires show up in their Spires hot dogs. Do we have any inkling of what's behind the Ways?
No.
Okay.
We just know that it was enough to make the Spires flee.
Now the next question. Where did they come from? What part of life... Sorry, what part of creation, life, balance, destruction, conquest, war, death, and famine? What parts are the spires of that? Like, where did they come from that aspect?
There is a little bit of debate about that for some reason, but Is
this between you and Lore Uncle Steve?
No, it's just other people.
Oh, okay.
But from what I understand, they came from a place that was fairly normal. Like, they developed independently of Aya's life. And they were beings of balance at one point. But the sun, quote unquote, or the shard of creation they lived under, because the shards are essentially light and suns.
Oh, okay. So then what are the planets? Is that bits of destruction or bits of balance?
It could be it could be an amalgam of both. It could be like dragons, where they are both of them together, and they just didn't make a dragon, or something like that. We don't know exactly. But the shard of creation they lived under had gone mad and started to warp everything around it.
Oh, that's why they all look like hot dogs.
They eventually become more creation-oriented. They become unable to use magic because they're no longer balanced. And all their leanings are towards creation rather than destruction.
Oh, that's really cool and interesting.
So, how long ago, relative to the current era of the game, was this that the sovereign lineage arrived?
Millennia. Like,
how long's a millennia? That's more than 1,000. No, it is 1,000.
We're talking about thousands of years.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It, like, an estimate, maybe, because they have dinosaurs in their holds. 10 million or more.
Okay. Wow, the sovereign lineage is...
They are... They do not die.
So,
from what I understand. They don't die of old age.
So if
they multiply.
If you're an Avatara, or like one of the nobility who pilot the Avatara mech suit, you basically are immortal unless someone stabs you in the neck?
From what I understand, yeah.
Wow. I'm going to eat a fuck ton of hot dogs if I ever become a Spires nobleman.
Highlander rules.
I could be wrong, but like they are, quote unquote, the setting's elves. So
that's fair.
And elves in other fantasy settings are essentially immortal in most parts. Like I believe Lord of the Rings, they just are.
Yes, they are. The only thing they can die. I think they're also immune to like disease. Not sure about poison, but really, the best way to kill an elf is just to break his fucking neck.
Yeah.
So what do any of the what species predate the arrival of the exiles on EA?
None that we know of.
Wait, so there's no life at all on?
No, there's life. We just don't know what
Okay.
would be around at that point.
I see. So like dinosaurs and
Yeah, the only things that are there that are essentially sentient and still around are the dragons.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, because they predate the exiles in totality. That's why they're still around. Like I'm sure dinosaurs may have developed at some point while they were around, or they were there when they got there, but they decided to put some in their experimental chambers, their cryo chambers.
Get in the petri dish.
Exactly.
Get in the peachy just Sinji.
That's basically Spires in a nutshell.
Tormenting a depressed child.
Yeah, get in the swimming pool, idiot.
So as Sovereign arrives and declares that he is now leader, and starts putting people to work, the small settlements, the small spires, eventually become gigantic cities or massive things, which the dragons take notice of, and they're just like, okay, this is kind of fucked.
Too many fucking hot dogs on this planet.
They go to confront them, but because they're now living creatures using bodies of. Well, we have to take a moment there and talk about what happened to the dragons.
Yeah, shift us back to the dragons now. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the dragons want to become life. They wanted to experience it because they were not. They were celestial beings. So each step they took, creating more complex bodies that could emulate life, they lost more and more of their power. Until only the elder dragons were the strongest ones that still had like elemental bodies, like bodies of rock and stone, things like that.
So I thought initially the dragons would have kids, and their kids would be weaker and weaker than their parents. But I didn't realize it was the actual dragons, or the shards of life, or creation and balance, and creation or destruction, whatever the fuck. Two of them coming together, trying to get closer and closer to life itself, what would cause them to get weaker.
We're about to talk about that.
Oh!
Because once they created bodies complex enough to emulate life, they could do the deed and make an egg.
Oh.
Hell yeah!
Oh, let's breed some dragons! Duncan, Idaho, making a comeback!
Yes.
But the egg, without... it would create a drake, which is a dumb dragon. It's an animal.
Sorry,
It's the biggest nerd.
Dragon bimbofication.
So what dragons had to do to create another legitimate dragon was sacrifice a portion of their power and imbue it in the egg. Both parents would have to do this.
So would that weaken both parents and have a weaker offspring as well?
It would weaken both parents, but create a slightly stronger dragon.
Oh.
Slightly stronger, but still weaker than elder dragons. Because, if the two parents gave portions of their power to their child, the child would be stronger than them. But a dragon of the same generation as the parents would be stronger than that child. Because it hasn't lost any of its power.
Yeah.
Oh, so obviously no kids is the answer.
No kids is correct for dragons.
Also, don't get closer and closer to be able to fuck is the answer as well.
So what if the planets are just like the eggs, or like fragments of the eggs left over? Something like that.
Maybe. I wasn't gone into. But as the dragons create more, they have younger dragons who have more arrogance because they're the strongest living things on the planet. And this is where you go back to where we're talking about the spires and the dragons meeting. the dragons decided, let's let the kids talk to them. They're just mortals. They're just little things. They can't possibly be threatening.
Nothing could go wrong.
This is why I don't let my kids talk to anybody.
So
Yeah,
the
fuck it up
dragons
both ways.
the dragons sent some of their youngest living dragons to speak with the spires. Now a young dragon is still massive and still like.
Could you big spoon a young dragon, Kang? Because we both know that you're 40 feet
absolutely
tall
not.
and 94 inches.
A dragon could probably big spoon my city. You know.
What about to scale? Like if it was like a scale model?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The young dragons are probably to be what most people would imagine a normal dragon would be. Like just a large creature that maybe someone could ride on.
Potentially fucked if you're a donkey.
Maybe.
But could a dragon spoon a spire? A young dragon?
Not a young dragon. Hey, that comes up.
What if the dragon was real smooth with it?
What did you say, Kat?
What if the dragon was real smooth with it?
I don't know. Maybe.
Imagine the dragon fluid getting into the spire, and the spire's like, oh, let me eat this up so I can grow bigger and also produce weirder dragon force-grown drones.
Is that the origin of Bad Dragon?
Continuing. So as the young dragons met with Thothrin and the other Spire's elite, they were young and didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They saw all these cool tools, all these toys, this power that Sovereign wielded, and they compared it to their elders. And they're like, we want that. You need to give that to us now. They tried to intimidate the Spires, and the Spires didn't find it amusing or intimidating at all. They seemed like petulant children demanding toys. So the Spires put them out on their ass. And that pissed off the young dragons. They felt insulted. So they started attacking convoys and supply trains and spires themselves.
Also, spires have flyers. Like they have some sort of like Hercules jet type that transport flying vehicle. I can't even imagine what it looks like, but you know,
it's just a bigger version of that horseshoe. Yeah, it's just a bigger version of that. That thing was designed to kill dragons, and they just shrunk it down because they didn't need to kill dragons anymore.
Essentially, it started a war between the young dragons and the spires, in which there wasn't many casualties at first. They didn't try and kill each other. It was just the young dragons wanted to take things. They wanted to have the wealth that the spires had.
So it's an old man defending his lawn. He's like, "Yeah, get out of here, scamp!" And then he just, fires the bird shot at him.
The horseshoe crab shot. It's like, get the fuck off my lawn!
Basically, what happens. Oh shit! I almost dropped that.
No, don't drop your beer. I'm still drinking.
Last one with crab shot.
So, what happens is the dragons end up attacking more smaller areas, and like the exiles are like, "We're done with this," and they end up creating all these little things and using their power to build a full army. They basically told their what are they called? The working class.
Oh, the Underspires, or
no, just the working class. They told them, "All right, guys, you can start breeding. We need more soldiers."
Oh yeah, these guys.
Hell yeah!
But this is after millennia of oppression and like
getting fucked by the sovereign and getting fucked by the dragons. You're allowed to breed.
Well,
finally.
now it's time to get fucked by your wife.
Yeah, it's ages of putting the boot on the neck, essentially. So they start cranking out weapons and armor and soldiers and everything, all that.
Cranking one out.
But when the army was assembled to go march on the dragons' rooks, the homes of the dragons, they turned on and killed their entire contingent of overseers. Just all of them. All the Spire's sycophants, all his enforcers, all of it. And they marched off into the sea, disappearing.
Hot.
They would later become the Quiet.
Okay.
A continent of autists.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Wargamer Island.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, they literally are like, no, that grain of sand has to be exactly where we want it.
You imagine that island the Quiet is on? It's just like, the Conquest International Discord. That thing we don't go near.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, because that is how it sort of described. Stavros has posted on the Discord at one point describing the island. Every mountain has been turned into a tower. Forests have been turned into orchards. The beaches have been turned into stairways into the ocean. Everything is touched by a hand for creation. Nothing is left unchanged and unmade.
It's perfect.
They are supreme crafters and
Adderall Nation, baby.
basically.
This is what happens when you let the kids get into the medicine
miners.
So after this entire war host just disappears out from under Sovereign, he's panicking. Dude's like, oh fuck, oh shit, oh fuck, oh shit, oh fuck, oh no. And he turns to the Biomancers. These used to be a class of scientists that was derided and degraded because they took the sacred life binding ability that Spires had, or the Exiles had at this point, and warped
And they
it
made
into
so much cooler.
into biomancy, about manipulating life and turning it into whatever they wanted.
Like
just
Chads.
and he's like, I need you guys to help me, and we need to do this. We need to make things. Which led to the creation of things like the Pterophons, the drones, brutes, all of it. All of what we see now for the Spires was generally created at this point.
Oh, this was a panic response? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
He's like, fire up the clone reactors. I need like 10,000 soldiers stat.
Yes. This ended up pissing off the religious sect of the Exiles, which was led by the Voice, who's like the Pope.
Is this so? To describe the Voice, from my understanding, remember the third Matrix movie when the face in the machines appeared to Neo? That's what I always imagined the Voice as. That thing.
Something like that.
No, this is more like a hippie druid.
No.
Yeah, it's like a mix of the two, I would have to say, because it is like the religious core. She leads the artists, no, I know you're closer with the druid. She leads all the hippies. She leads Portland.
Yeah, we gotta like keep the Geneva Convention breaking cool kids. We gotta get rid of all the people who want to stop that.
So she wasn't happy about this, and quite a lot of unrest followed. Because even though not every single worker and an underclass left, those that were left were not happy about seeing biomancy being used, because it was a corruption of their religion.
I never realized Spires was even remotely religious at all.
Well,
Hey,
the
I
Spires
thought they were
aren't,
just
but the
freaks.
Exiles are.
Yeah, the Exiles were. They were a civilization that, it, of course, had everything that most other civilizations have, and organized religion, is just kind of thing that is
They
undoubtedly
had silly
able to-
things like taboos and, lines that you aren't supposed to cross.
Yeah. So, what she does is she goes behind Sovereign's back and contacts the Elder Dragons.
The ones
that
made out
are
of like
on-
magma and rock and trees and mud and
Yes.
shit.
Some of the Elder Dragons.
The big
yes.
boys and the gals,
That's correct.
like syphilis.
And she made no, not the two Celestial Dragons.
No, that's scoliosis. Syphilis is his own problem. A dragon.
But
Syphilis is their child.
she made a deal with them. She would let them know the location of Sovereign to end the war, but she wanted safe passage and land for her people that would follow her. The dragons agreed, and eventually she tricked Sovereign into arriving at a specific spire and called the dragons to her. Three of them.
She's a bitch, but also amazing at the same time. She has big ball energy.
Yeah, 3 of the most elder dragons showed up, ripped the top of the spire off, and spoke with Sovereign. They forced him to concede the war, to surrender.
So what, like, Magma Dragon showed up, Dirt Dragon showed up, and Syphilis Dragon, they're like, hey, listen, don't do this shit.
Yeah, these dragons were as big as a spire. They essentially clung to the side of it and ripped the very top off to speak with him.
Oh,
because they couldn't fit inside. But
I'm telling you, the Sovereign really is the main character here.
He's getting fucked in the ass right now from the Syphilis Dragons.
Well, he returns the favor, though, so, you know.
Okay, well, we'll get there.
So he's panicked and everything. He's shitting his pants because there's 3 giant dragons talking to him. Like, one tooth is bigger than he is. It's like one of their tiny baby teeth is bigger than he is. So he surrenders, of course. Like, why not? No reason not to. I want to live. I want to stay in position of power. But one of the concessions was to give dragons biomancy. So what happens is they commission from the exiles a slave race called the Crafters that could perform biomancy for the dragons. They would eventually become the Dwegom.
Oh.
The funniest little silly prank that the Spires ever played.
Okay, so here's the thing. We're gonna find out, but like, I believe the Dwegom were made from the dragons. From my understanding of the lore that I already previously knew, the Dwegom were made for the for the dragons from the Spires, but the dragons were really lazy about it and wanted the Dwegom to be able to, like, basically hit maturity, know everything they need to know, and then do their job, but also know that the dragon was in charge and that they were lesser than everything else because they were ruled over by dragons. And it was the dragon's own hubris and arrogance would cause their own collapse, and not because the Spires programmed the Dwegom to fuck them up at a certain point.
They didn't. That's the thing. Because it wasn't the elder dragons that demanded the biomancy, that demanded the Dwegom.
It was the baby dragons.
It was the younger dragons.
Yeah,
because they were jealous of their elders and would go on to mistreat the Dwegom themselves.
I like to think of this as the funniest form of malicious compliance imaginable. Like, as someone who, like, works in tech, right? And, like, someone will give me, like, this design, and, like, sometimes you just see, like, the obvious problem with it. And, like, you'll be like, hey, you know, like, I don't know about this. And then they're like, no, it has to be this way. You're like, yeah, okay, cool. And then you just, like, say nothing and make it. And you're not, like, actively performing an act of malice directly, but it's like, well, I said it wasn't a good idea, and then you wanted it anyways. And it's like, well, I mean, you're the one who has, like, a you're the one who has a dragon to my head here. So, yeah, I'll just do that. And then you just wait.
Well, you gave your professional opinion, and they decide to disregard it, and that's up to them.
And then you just did it for them.
Yeah, so got paid anyway.
As part of the surrender, the Sovereign let the Voice and whoever wished to go with her leave as well. And they went on to become the Weavers.
Oh.
They would go and they would be given land that was watched over by dragons. But the catch there for them was that they had to abandon every single one of their earthly or their physical possessions to a dragon to essentially pay them for their service.
So
it is literally a hippie commune.
This is just communism, but with yeah. What the fuck?
The Weavers are really fun because eventually they don't really care all that much about physical things, and they would go to become extremely powerful in their own right, using their religious power and things like that.
Okay, so are you telling me that true communism finally worked in the Weaver courts in Aya?
In its own way, I suppose.
Oh, see? There you go, communists.
No, you don't understand. When he said they would become... He's literally saying that they physically become their things.
Yeah, they physically become communism. Put on that sickle and hammer, baby. We're good to go.
If
I'm not
anything,
touching this one.
if anything, the ones who are communists are actually the quiet.
Yeah, that's true.
So you got to really understand that I work with a lot of conservative people in my project, and something I do to have fun with them is I try to convert them to communism. And I have been in pissing and shouting matches in locker rooms about it, and it's the funniest thing to me ever.
God,
this is more like a not real communist commune. This is like the rich people, rich hippie commune.
This is the libertarian communism.
If anything, this is more like a cult commune.
Man, I am getting progressively more drunk.
All the Wicca got together and formed a little ranch.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's gonna be Jacobstown all over again in a moment, isn't it?
That's the end of the Dragon versus Exile War.
Decisive Spires victory.
I've hit a point of drunkenness where I can't feel the tips of my fingers, and we know it's good.
Oh dear.
Decisive Flavor Aid victory.
This leaves the voice and her people as the Weavers, going off and spreading around, getting naked and dancing in the woods, whatever. The Sovereign, with a shattered, broken, and
dirty hot dog.
Essentially, not just that, but his entire civilization is like devoid of people, devoid of workers. He now has nothing but drones, nerds, and nobles.
Look, it's a precursor towards a glorious advancement.
Shut up, you Spires fundamentalist. My God.
He's also now keenly aware that he could get his shit rocked again if he's not careful. So
this guy thought he was Big Daddy Kang, and then Big Daddy Kang showed up and bounced him. I
suppose. That also leaves the dragons in a position where every single one of them now has the Makers at their disposal. Because even though the young dragons were the ones that wanted them, the elder dragons still got some. They were fascinated.
Weapon successsucly deployed.
Yeah, they were fascinated.
Something more powerful than Metal Gear. I have to stop.
One of the things, like, going back to dragons, why they're on the planet at all, is they're curious about life. And because biomancy is like the manipulation of life, they're curious about it and want to see it in practice, which is why the Makers became a thing.
Okay, so like, what are the Makers quotes?
The Makers are a race of stout people made by the exiles for the dragons to be servants of the dragons.
So the Makers are dwarves.
Yeah, it even says they are dwarfed by their master's might and serve them as deft crafters.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying that, because you kept saying Makers, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck this is.
Well, that's what the Makers are called. They're the Makers. They make things. They would go on to craft the rooks, turn them into pieces of art, and craft trinkets for each one of their masters. They would create automata to serve them in service of their masters. They would create great forges to do this crafting. And throughout it, they were given a gift called memory. Memory gives them, as a race, a perfect memory of things that they have experienced as a whole. They do not forget. They do not forget.
It's basically Get for dwarves.
Mm-hmm. But living under the dragons was essentially slavery. Despite being submissive, they were not loyal. And despite like everything they did, many dragons would treat them as expendable. They would treat them poorly, sometimes eat them, because dragons. And there were numbers of rebellions despite this. Like, they would always rise up every once in a while, and they would always remember that they've risen up before.
Really?
But they would also remember what happens when they rose up. Because they would be crushed utterly.
Imagine, like...
I'm really surprised they even... Go ahead, Skill. My apologies.
I was just going to say, like, this is like if you're, say, a sports team. Imagine if you have, like, genetic memory. If you're a sports team that has lost every single game ever, and you're like, yeah, we're going to keep trying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kudos to the dwarves for keep trying to fuck these dragons, but my god, man, they must have got a pounding. I thought that they only rised up once they discovered, we'll get to this, the Shard of War deep underground at the bridges of Khazad-dûm. That's when they truly rised up. They were just all like really pissy before that. No. But I didn't realize they had failed a fuck ton of times before they got to the bridges of Khazad-dûm and released a Balrog upon the world.
Yeah, because like they were a people. They had different opinions. They had personalities. They were people that experienced life because they were living things. So you definitely had loyalists and you had rebellious elements. Different people that would do different things. And more often than not, the rebel leaders and things like that were not killed. They were sent to the deepest and darkest mines to get things for crafting.
Well, I'm glad if you're a rebel leader, you know your worst fate is to continue what you're doing just in worse conditions.
I mean, more often than not, they would continue to live. But otherwise, I mean, if they died, they died.
See, I really don't feel bad for the dragons, like at all. 100% deserved.
Not at this point.
Well, okay, here's the thing. I feel bad for the elder dragons who got caught up in this bullshit. The younger dragons can go fuck themselves. They caused a lot of problems because they're just whiny, arrogant little bastard children.
They did. But with the essential exile to the deepest parts of the mines and the constant digging deeper and deeper, they did find something.
They found Bad Dragon?
They found the prison of war.
Oh, yeah.
You said they found a shard of war? No, they found the prison of war.
Was this motherfucker still trying to put the circle into the square and couldn't do it? And they're like, my god, dude, this is super easy. And he's like, ah!
Wait, so war is local to EA?
Yeah, I thought it was a shard.
He's trapped within Ea.
But I thought the structure was
so
trapped
it really
within
is
Ea.
just this prison.
Yeah, it is his. His prison is made of fire and earth. It is the constant fighting and constant conflict of his prison is what keeps him locked away inside of it.
Yeah, he's literally...
No mystery of what the planet is has been solved.
So, they did find him. And... let's see. Is there anything new here? Okay. The makers that found it breached the prison. And what happened at that point is there was a magical feedback. A magical explosion, I was supposed to say. And what that did is it essentially... how to explain it? It brain blasted a bunch of the dragons.
We have a electrical arc here. We have a electrical fire going on.
Because they put so much of their power into the prison to keep war just busy. When it was breached, there was it's hard to explain. To say I can't.
It's an arc flash.
Yeah.
No. Let Big Daddy Kang explain it.
There was just a reaction where when the prison was broken, they felt it, and their magic like hitched and wounded a number of them. It even made some of them just unable to move for hundreds of years.
Can you imagine being like a fucking like paralyzed dragon laying there, and a bunch of dwarves show up, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna." It's like, "Squeal for me like a pig," and they're like, "Ah!"
They're like, "Guys, oh no, it broke!"
And to the eyes of the Dwegholm, this was a shattering. This was a shattering of the world, the status quo, everything like that. They were empowered. The elders empowered the makers that had this rage and powerlessness within them to become the Dwegholm.
Those nipple plugs are starting to make a lot more sense thematically.
And in that rage and that anger, they launched a genocidal campaign against all dragons.
Classic.
And any makers that were loyal to them still.
So they had a dwarf on Dwegholm War, and they had Dwegholm on Dragon War. And that poor paralyzed motherfucker laying there for 100 years was just like, wow, this is really gonna suck, isn't it?
And War, feeling this, empowered them. He gave them the power of fire and earth, which is why they're fire sorcerers, earth sorcerers, and magma sorcerers.
Oh.
He blessed the entire maker race through the elders, who are also trapped inside there with him now.
Oh,
I'm just saying,
the elders are the elder dragons or the elder Dwegholm?
Elder Dwegholm.
Okay, so these are the rebel leaders.
The ones that found War's prison.
Oh, so these are the lost and found in the Ancients, but just got released on or previewed on that happy hour?
That would be the Ancients. The lost and the found are potentials on the Ducaro.
What?
The what?
What?
There's a whole... the Ducaro is a traveling to War's prison. It is something that the Ardent... or not the Ardent. It's the Caraways people.
Yeah, they are in Carawal.
Yeah. If they reach the prison, they become the found, if I remember right. And sometimes, if they come back, they will be like flame berserkers, magma forged. The reason they have furnaces inside of them isn't because Dwegholm are normally like that. They made it to War's prison and were blessed by the ancients.
Do you think like the Dwegholm, they make this this journey towards prison? They get there, and he's still trying to put the goddamn circle in the square hole and can't do it, and they just help him move it over and slide it in, and he's like, "Oh, thanks, man. Here's a bit of my power. Let me grab the square and start putting the circle one." And they're like freaking the fuck out because they're on fire now, and they leave, so they don't help him with the rest of it, and so the next guy has to come over and help him, and that's why he's still trapped there.
I think it's more like that one video of where does the square go? That's right. Into the square.
In the square.
In the square. Yeah.
Where's the square?
Where's the triangle go? In the square. And they're just like, no. And he's just like, go away.
I love how we have this new like meta that War is basically a fucking idiot.
So, like, that's cool that War is like, yeah, here, have some, like, earth and, like, stone and magma and fire and all that shit. Like, that's cool, but did he really have to give them the elemental tokens?
Yeah.
I don't think that was his deal.
He gave them the shit tickets.
I think the elemental tokens is actually more connected with balance and the elemental planes because
balance is a dick, okay?
I mean, just skin, okay? It's after skin.
Being connected to the elemental planes means you are at balance, essentially, with the world.
Boo.
And you're able to reach in and touch the elemental plane somehow. That's how magic users work.
So
and every single Dwegholm is a magic user. So, every single one of them has access to the elemental planes, which will come up later. But I can't talk about that.
Why?
I can't talk about it.
You under NDA? You can just say you're under NDA and we can move on.
I'm not under NDA, that's the problem, but I've been entrusted not to say anything.
Okay,
that's fine. But it's also why I know Dwegholm are mammals.
Ew. How the fuck?
Oh, I thought they just chipped them out of the stone and injected life into them.
Did you fucking talk to Stravos? They were like, oh, so like spires have belly buttons, and people are into like Wadroon feet or whatever the fuck, or no, Wadroon shit. And you're like,
Tell me,
"Are
Sammy,
Dwaycom
baby, is
men?"
it a Dwegusi or a Dwegeka?
Yeah, do they have a... Yeah, what do they got underneath their pants?
It was just part of the conversation that was happening at the happy hour, or not the happy hour, but the lore hour with Stavros at Adepticon. I can't talk about it.
Did you talk to him about the Avatara feet?
No, I did not. I know that was a burning question for you,
opportunity
but
missed.
I didn't get to talk to him
Breedable
about
Dweg? What a crazy lore hour.
it. But
Dweg are mammals.
so as the Dwegholm, embark on this genocidal campaign. Oh, they're successful, just straight up.
Oh yeah, winners.
It was called the Shattering, as like what it was. They don't actually kill all the dragons. Like one of them we've seen in a living world, they just chain up and keep in their mountain, which is currently being moved. The entire fucking mountain is being moved across the world.
Wait, what? What the fuck?
Yeah, do you not know about that?
No, I don't know about the moving mountain. What the fuck's happening there?
They're taking it towards Mannheim, and I assume they're taking it towards Yggdrasil.
Why?
And there's another dragon
there.
Oh,
want to kill it.
So let me get. A bunch of Dwegholm decided, we are just gonna pick up a mountain and just roll it towards an island.
It's not an island; it's a continent.
Mannheim is its own like big island continent. I have the map up, and I'm
it's
pretty sure
Australia.
Yeah, it's basically just fucking Nords Australia. But the place where this dragon is chained up is on the mainland in kind of like the 100K area. Because I know the main Dwegholm Hold Ray guy stares at it in his throne room, and they basically are locked in an eternal staring contest.
Yep. The dragon, I really like that story, mostly because when the Dwegholm punched the dragon in the eye, the dragon was actually thankful because it made him tear up, and the tear lubricated his eye because it was dry as fuck.
From the staring contest?
But they got this guy's eyes chained open?
Yes, they do. It's actually the piece of artwork that they're selling.
Is it the one with the dwarf sitting and he's okay? Hold on.
No, it's the Dwegholm Artisan Series artwork. You can see it in the background of the Dwegholm.
I'm pulling it up.
I want to look at it again actually because it's such a. You don't notice it at first because you see the Dwegholm in front and everything's focused on him, but then you look in the back.
Pardon me, God, these poor bastards who are like seeing trunk mass.
And you can see all the chains and everything around the eye and the giant hooks in the eyelid.
Okay, there, I posted the artwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit, it is open. Oh, okay. So he's supposed to, like, in the story, he's on one end of the hall, the dragon's on the other, and all the Thanes sit in the middle arguing. And he basically has a staring contest with this dragon. And then every once in a while he'll be like, "Oh, shut up, we're going on a march, we're going on a campaign." And then all the Thanes are like, "Woo!" And they just start killing everything as they leave their hold.
Yeah. And like the hall is massive. It's absolutely insane. Like where he is standing is probably like his throne isn't in there. You can't see it because he's looking at his throne. This is just like an in media res shot.
POV from his chair.
Yeah, essentially, probably. But like that's all the art pieces. It's like moments from the world that are amazing. Like the one this is the Alchemist. This isn't even Sovereign. The Spires one. That's
He's just
one
a dude.
of the dudes. Yeah. It's one of the biomancers.
Yeah, he looks fucking sick as
He's a pretty cool guy.
And I believe this is Svalbard. Farthom. This was not the wolf, but this is one of the Einjunhars who just decimated the Order of the Sword.
Oh,
and he's just laying on a pile of Order of the Sword. Like it shows you how big an Einjunhar could be, just normally.
Yeah, because it's a throne of bodies, and you don't realize that right away. And that, like the Conquest artwork is so good for that. Of you just not like, there's so much detail in it that you don't actually recognize it right off the bat. What I quite enjoy.
Exactly. But yeah, where were we? We were at the end of the Shattering. That's right. So at the end of the Shattering, the Dwagom stood atop a world burned and dragonless, essentially, at this point. And they're like, I'm not done fighting. So they turn on one another because they couldn't remember exactly how everything went. It became the memory wars. Because different holds and different armies had different POVs of the memory. So they were just like, no, my Ogham is greater than yours because this happened. It's like, that's not how it happened. This is how it happened. So
It literally became Dwagecraft Memory Wars.
What is Ogham?
Ogham. Yeah, we never touched on Ogham because that's a very Dweghome thing that is created at this point.
Because Ogham is always talked about, but no one. It's like you get points for just being a badass. Is basically what I understand it as.
Sort of. It's your social credit score.
Woody the Pooh Dweghome over here, just like, oh,
That's
your
Hunter
Ogham credit
Kingdom's
score.
propaganda. The Dweghome don't have social credit scores. It's just something that they say to scare Kingdomers.
The more Ogham you have, the greater you are in the system. The less Ogham you have, the more likely you are to be put on things like guard duty or armor maintenance, crafting, anything that is seen as like lesser than being just a great warrior.
Bitch work.
Essentially.
I do know for Dweghome that if you ever like cause a problem, and by quotes cause a problem, like steal, murder, arson, and any of those like regular ass crimes, one of the worst punishments they can ever give you is like menial labor in the mines, because dwarves serve, Dweghome live, or Dweghome are free, and it's like built into their identity as a people.
That is correct.
Yeah, I was like,
that is also,
that's a great quote.
That is also why they use automata for most of the menial labor. Like mining, crafting, or just like moving things, you will see automata doing that.
Got the robots in there.
Yeah. It's really funny also because like they posted an article about the life of a Dweghome, about how essentially from the moment they're like, I don't know, 12, they become inducted into the military service and can earn pseudo Ogham, and then once they reach a certain age of service after the pseudo Ogham, they can start earning real Ogham.
What the fuck is the point of the pseudo Ogham? Is it like your baby teeth?
It's to teach them about the ways so that they're not punished for not.
It's like being in cadets.
Yeah, essentially.
Well, do you think their first 12 years they're like, he's just being a little shit, but like wait until he's 12, then we're gonna fuck him up?
Well, their first 12 years, Dweghome are actually communally raised by the Karawas. They're raised in groups together. To create what was it? Team building, an identity of being part of a unit. Which later on becomes a big thing with Ogham and like their formations, and also service to the hold, becoming a cog in the machine, and that's when they essentially get inducted into it.
If you want to say Ogham, you got to be that Cogum.
Yeah, which is why Dweghome outside of the hold are so different.
Because go ahead.
Yeah. They're not inducted into that system immediately, and those that escaped and end up at some point having children, I guess, raise their children as maybe humans might. I don't know. We haven't really explored all that. I assume that'll happen when we get to the Polmag Principalities.
Once we get to those doggies of Warries.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested in hearing more about the Principalities and what goes on there. Which we learned so... Oh, God, I can't talk about that either. I have to shut up.
All right. Do you want to get into the Age of Wonder? Oh, sorry, not the Age of Wonder. The Age of Worship. Age of Wonders is an amazing video game, by the way. But Age of Worship.
Let's see.
And there's the Fall, and then I feel like that should be it.
We will talk about the beginning of humanity and the beginning of the Age of religion.
Sweet, because I'm going to open up another beer shortly.
So, as the Dweghome are existing and end up like just kicking the shit out of anything that comes their way. They will sometimes attack spires and beat the fuck out of them. But as the Dweghom have finished their shattering and their memory wars ended, the spires are also recovering, which leaves a gap in essentially the power vacuum, or a power vacuum in the world. In that power vacuum, humanity arrives. Humanity has been a number of like sporadic tribes who have evolved and come into being and have their own small civilizations just being ignored by all the big players. The dragons couldn't do anything because they were dead at this point. The spires are recovering, they ignored them, but they were aware of them. The Dweghom don't give a shit. They beat the fuck out of them when they find them, though. Because, you know, they're big monkeys. They fight fine. They just don't have armor and weapons. But essentially, the big inciting incident was a tribe of humans find one of the top levels of a Dweghom hold. You have to describe that, actually. Dweghom holds dig down. And they always go dig down. But as they dig down, they abandon the upper levels and seal the homes that were there with the person who died. Each home becomes a tomb, essentially.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so like they always grow down and outward. So the upper levels are essentially burial grounds of a Dweghom hold, and every time they leave a Dweghom hold, they're honoring the dead as they leave.
So kind of the inverse of the spires, you know?
Yeah, very much.
Like
so.
they honor their dead, and spires just make more things.
Yeah. But these humans found an open Dweghom hold, or the upper levels of one, and used it as shelter because the world is a terrible and dangerous place. They started to explore. You know, that would also like essentially make them enemies of the Dweghom because, you know, they don't like it when you fuck around in their house. I don't think anybody likes it when you fuck around in their house, but
Yeah. Look what the spires did. They shot at the dragons and then realized it was a bad idea.
yeah. But the humans
With those dragons, that's the last time they're gonna rip open a spire. I'm just saying.
Well, we already got past that point. They're all dead except for like 4 of them.
True. But these humans, they find a forge still working. And within that forge is a shard of creation that's being used to power it. One of the shards of Conquest. Or I should say, not a shard of creation, it's a shard of Conquest, which is of creation. So this shard is used as a heating element. It creates heat. So the tribe of humans use it as like their hearth fire. They use it as their central place in what becomes their home. And they begin worshiping it.
This is literally a monolith moment.
It's just apes around 2001. Yeah, Odyssey.
It quite literally is. Because the forge they find is a dragon forge, so it's shaped like a dragon.
Hell yeah. That's so battle.
Yeah. But as they're called the first tribe. And as they feed this shard belief, the shard gives them knowledge. It imbues them with knowledge about how to make things. Because it was around when the Dweghom were doing things, it tells them how to make weapons, armor, nails, screws, all sorts of things that would just make them great and be useful for creating a society. And this god, as more people come or this tribe grows, is given a name. And this name is Haslia.
Praise be upon him, Haslia.
This is the birth of the Dominion.
Do they call it the New Dominion or what?
No, just the Dominion.
Oh, okay.
It isn't named the Dominion at this point, but it is the birth of it. The Dominion doesn't come until after they've started to expand and encompass other nations and other civilizations. But as the influence and power of this tribe grows, it essentially becomes a nation, and a warrior nation at that. It gathers other civilizations under it and other gods. Haslia is aware that because he is a god, he now has responsibilities and everything. He is a steward of humanity. Other stewards of humanity, other gods like Ninua and Cleon, come to his side, and they become a triumvirate of gods that humanity worships, and they continue to grow.
Okay.
This is when the Dominion is really called the Dominion.
Okay, so Cleon, best boy out of all these gods. He's obviously best boy.
He's called the Protector.
Yeah, he's best boy. Let's address him by his proper title. So basically humans worshipped a forge and then a god appeared?
Essentially.
And then these other gods, they just kind of showed up because there was too much god juice, and they were like, yeah, I'm here, what's up?
No. Ninua and Cleon were part of other civilizations' gods. Like, the first tribe was like the first big ones.
Mm-hmm.
There were other gods being made at this time, like other shards of creation and conquest. Even shards of other horsemen were being made into gods.
Okay, because there's these three constants about power, right? Belief is power, power is power, and then something. I always forget what the third one is.
The three rules of conquest are belief is power, power attracts, and power corrupts.
Oh, that's fucked up, man. I could see, man. These guys were like destined to fail, like from the start.
Like it says on the thing here, Haslia's rise has proven the first one true. The others were soon to follow after. Haslia grew in power because belief was fed to him. So have other gods grown because belief was fed into them. Ninua and Cleon were powerful in their own right and coalesced together into the triumvirate. Which is why Haslia, as like a sun god, was seen as the Pentocrator, the father of mankind. Because he elevated the first tribe and other humans, I should say, instead of humanity, further than the other two had. But like they would go on to just be the dominant force on the planet, even with the Dweghom and the Exiles.
Yeah, because the Dweghom were building down, and the Spires were building also down.
Yeah. But as this was happening, to the north, a spire had survived the Dragon Wars and was flourishing. Why? We don't know exactly. I know exactly why, but I can't say.
Oh, Adepticon, no!
This was a spire that was run in tandem with both Weavers and Spires. The Aesir and the Vanir, who were seen as gods by the people that lived on Mannheim. These were essentially a spire, an exile fortress that grew greater and stronger than every other spire on the planet.
Can I interject here? I feel like the Sovereign is going to have a big problem with these people for some reason. Because I feel like that guy and his track record really shows he doesn't like to work with others.
He really doesn't. But at the same time, he couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, he had to fix his roof.
He had to try and fix his entire nation. He had to do everything. And he was
this whole civilization was basically kind of hollowed out at that point.
Yeah, his poor hot dog was being injected with cream filling.
Yeah, but the home of the Aesir and the Vanir was Yggdrasil, the World Tree, this massive spire that you could see in the distance from like across Mannheim. It was so large that it was ever present. It was just, it's like looking at Mount Everest from space and seeing how big it is or some shit like that. No, the moon. It's like the moon. You see it from Earth. It's just there.
Can you
It's
imagine
there.
being on the other end of Mannheim and be like, oh, there's Yggdrasil. Love that thing. Big tree.
Yep.
My,
There's where my gods live.
yeah, I love my Aesir and Vanir gods. They would do me no harm or misdirect me or anything like that. Hell's no.
So, biomancy and life binding were used in tandem on this in this spire. It was not a corruption; it was a sistering of the two. They worked together instead of being a corruption of the belief system of the exiles.
That actually kind of rules.
Yeah, and because the Aesir and the Vanir were seen as gods, faith flowed from human to them. They became divinity because of the humans worshipping them.
Oh, because of, as I posted in the general Discord, its 3 basic tenets are belief is power, power attracts power, and power corrupts. Oh yeah.
Yes.
I'm kind of buzzed out of my fucking mind right now.
Yeah, these exiles became gods of humans. And Haslia could not stand that. But on top of that, there was some shenanigans going on in Yggdrasil that we'll find out at some point in the lore book that's coming. But one of them contacted Haslia and told him he needed to come and deal with it.
So
He gave him an out.
So I know from the lore spoiler when we were going to pick Faction 9 that ended up being Sorcerer Kings, I was very interested in Hell and Hell winning because I thought that was really interesting of how they twist, or how Stavros, my understanding he's the owner, I think he's the owner, I'm going to go with he's the owner, and
Stavros is the
lore guy, how
Yeah.
he twisted North mythology to fit his setting, and that basically his entire setting is a twisting of Earth's actual history and various, like, religions and places and civilizations. How he twisted Norse mythology into, like, to fit his universe and also just be more Spires bullshit. Because it was like, there's a guy named Odin. There's a guy named Loki. Odin's trying to make the Well of Urn was basically a supercomputer but can, like, see the future. And Loki realizes seeing the future is a bad idea. So he leaves. But then Odin's like, well, I'll just get your daughter Hela to do it. And so Hela starts doing it. And, like, Yggdrasil has the Lindworm. The Lindworm is actually a dragon, and it, like blah 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 blah.
Not,
and it was like all.
It
was
not
all.
Lindworm.
Well,
It's
is it Yggdrasil? No, Nidhogg. There we go. Got it.
It's Nidhogg. Yeah, Nidhogg is the one that's trapped beneath Yggdrasil.
Nidhogg is the big hog.
Big Hobbs.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
how he comes to be there is actually we don't know, but is something that will come up later in the lore book.
Sweet, because it's like. Okay, they captured a dragon and we're basically like, let's just life bind biomancy a dragon to make a supercomputer. And Hell ghosts in the machine, the supercomputer. So like there's a lot of interesting shit just happening there underneath the baseline Nord mythology myth that the Nord's faction follows. And the Hell faction is just all the awful shit that's underneath. And I fucking love it.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. I want to see when it is going to come out because it's just 3 slices of spite working together. Because it's the last 3 makers. It's Nidhogg and it's Hela.
Yeah, and it's just
He's
like
pissed off. He's pissed off, and they're pissed off, and they just hate everybody.
Okay, so how did they get to that point? Because right now we know Loki leaves. Odin wants to make a supercomputer in Yggdrasil. And Haziel finds out about that. So tell me, Lord Daddy.
So we'll go back a little bit.
Yeah, don't worry. I know some lore.
The Aesir and the Vanir are just great because all the divine faith being pumped into them, the dragon blood that's under Yggdrasil, feeding their tree of life, making it stronger than every other one. None of the others had dragons fueling it. Odin did start to want. I believe he was a Vanir. He was a weaver, and the Aesir was Loki. He and Loki got together and wanted to create the supercomputer. It was Loki's idea.
Okay.
But as time went on, and Loki realized how bad it could be, he was like, "No, we need to stop this." Come to find out though, like his daughter Hela had joined the project because she wanted to connect with her dad more.
Aww.
She wanted to
Oh,
be
boy.
a father-daughter thing. What happens though is he gets cold feet because it's a terrible thing that could happen, and he leaves the project, but the project continues.
Because he's a bitch.
So during this time, Loki becomes the father of monsters by creating biomantic horrors and creatures that would attack the spire to try and reach the well, the computer, and destroy it. He was never successful, unfortunately.
Oh. Is that why Nords have a lot of, like, fucking monsters?
It is. It is definitely part of the reason why.
Respect.
But as time went on and he couldn't stop the project from going on, he contacted Haslia or someone in Haslia's orbit and informed him that this was happening, and if this happened, you would now be subject to these other beings. You would no longer be the Pantocrator. You would now be just another servant of fate.
Okay, sorry. The Pentacrator?
Pantocrator.
What the
Pantocrator.
Is that like the divine being of Christ? Like, I know Hazel has a whole Jesus metaphor going on.
That's the father of mankind. Pantocrator. The father of mankind.
So the Pentacrator is the father of mankind. Is Hazel also the father of mankind? Is it like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, or what?
No, that's what I said. Haslia would no longer be the Pantocrator.
Oh.
The father of mankind. Yeah. He informed Haslia that you would just be a pawn of fate.
Oh man, that guy would not take that sitting down ever.
And he did not. His Thelasaur, the leader of the Dominion, was told by Haslia to build ships. We have run out of men to conquer. It is time for us to make war. And he sent them north to wipe out Yggdrasil. And he would go himself as well.
Wait. He has a physical body, or a body that can manifest in the physical world and be like, yo, dog, time to get wrecked like a bitch.
I mean, as we've seen...
Because I feel like Haziel would, like, fuck up some people real hard. Like, not gently hard. Like, real hard.
We got to talk a little bit about Haslia and what he does, actually.
Okay, can I take like a pee break?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you guys can talk about Haslia and I'll come back.
Yeah. But,
so, I got distracted by something real quick. I just wanted to... It might be useful to someone else listening too. So what was the goal of the Yggdrasil project?
The computer. Sorry, I jumped over that. It was to determine the future.
Okay.
It was to determine every possible outcome and set it in stone. Or it would set it in stone. If you determined everything that could possibly happen, it would essentially make it so that there was only one outcome that would happen.
Okay. So it forces determinism.
Yeah, and whenever that happens, it essentially unravels fate. It unravels the universe.
Get your free will sapped, baby.
Yeah, it essentially stops everything and just phrase it into non-existence.
Okay.
So this was both.
Why were they trying to do this again?
That's the thing, like, Loki thought it'd be cool to have a computer that could tell the future. But then he realized how bad that would be and what it might do halfway through.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
like,
that makes more sense.
I've screwed up. I've messed up big time. So, that's why he left the project and why he's constantly trying to stop it. But, Haslia has also grown massive in power because the Dominion is so large. He has started shedding parts of himself to become sub-gods of different things, like a god of the harvest, or a god of the mail, or a god of running on time. Things like that. He's being pulled in so many different directions that he's starting to fray himself. So he has to do this to keep himself, quote unquote, sane.
So he delegates work?
He delegates work to sub-selves.
By the way, I almost smashed into my wall while getting up and walking to the bathroom. I like got up, like tripped. I like took my headphones off, almost tripped over the cord, and smashed head first in the wall. I was like,
Ooh.
"Oh god!"
But also during his rise to power, Hasley has also taken shards of creation and shards of conquest into his pantheon to make other gods and things like the fallen or the divinities, other gods that are subservient to him. Nanua and Cleon are never subservient to him. They are supposedly equals but less powerful,
They're the triumvirate, like the Sith triumvirate from Star Wars: The Old Republic 2.
I suppose.
One of my
But-
favorite games, by the way.
The rest of the pantheon serves under Haslia and is his to control.
Do Cleon and the Tears of Nuala have like lesser gods under them, or do they maintain their sanity and their power by not splitting themselves or like dealing with any of that stuff?
I believe that was like an aspect of it because they were lesser gods than Haslia. He wasn't because he's the father, like the father figure. Everyone worshipped him as like the main one, and only those who had specific worships or paid homage to those two gods is like, yes, we must also worship the mother and the protector. But it's like, I worship the father.
I worship the protector and the tears of the mommy.
Well, it's Nanua. Tears of Nanua is a thing that happens later.
Yeah, they heal one wound per success.
Funny thing.
Yeah.
But as Hasley is growing in power and everything and slowly going mad, he wants to rid himself of humanity. He wants to now become a celestial being and go back to the stars.
Independence.
Yeah, essentially, he wants an independence.
It's like kicking
And
his kids out. Go to college. Fuck off.
In some attempt to like reach that point, he has made himself a home above Ea. It's like you imagine like Olympus,
Wait.
a layer of clouds and buildings and homes and things like that.
Did you play Final Fantasy 1?
No, I did not.
Oh, Skillen, did you?
A long time ago.
Cass?
Oh, I have the
Also,
perfect
a very long time ago.
Like,
for my One Piece stands.
Yeah,
it's
it's-
Skypiea.
Skypiea. Mostly for Carl. I just remember like the castle in the sky and the people who came from the sky, and you had to like learn their language and shit from Final Fantasy
Sky
1.
Fortress.
Yeah. There's always usually like some sort of sky nation that lives above the clouds or things like that.
And that's where
But
Hazel
essentially-
lives.
That's where Hasley and his pantheon sort of resided, is above mortals in the stratosphere of Ea.
Okay.
Wait, they literally live in the clouds.
Yes, quite literally. These
keeps
were
them up
all
there?
they were all celestial beings and things like that, like shards of creation, shards of conquest. They made it that way. They created
They're
a
in
space
low Earth
station.
orbit.
Yeah, they created a space station.
That's cool.
Yeah.
When do we
Out
get
of
the
God
space
stuff.
station terrain?
There's just
I don't
ruins
think
in the ground.
I don't think we'll ever get it, to be honest. But
Oh, that's lame.
But this at this point, like Hasley is going a little bit nuts, just a little bit, just a tiny bit, because he wants to rid himself of humanity.
Is he just
But he
tired
also-
of being on call all the time? Is that it? Like
That's probably part of it.
Like, that would drive
But
a
he
normal
al-
person mad, but he's a god who has to deal with the entirety of humanity. Like, I don't blame him for trying to kill all of us.
Yep. And he sees this threat of the Aesir and the Vanir, these other divinities, and their project to possibly solidify fate into one outcome. And he's like, oh, well, this ain't going to be, this is dumb shit. Let me go fix this. In which case, the Northern Crusade or the Northern Expedition happens. And this is Titans clashing. This is 4 legions of the Dominion, which
Okay. Quick
is a big deal.
interjection.
What's
What is a legion? Because part of the lore from Hell and the part of the lore from Nords and the part of the lore from Old Dominion, when you read different parts of it through their lore, because I read all this lore when it was in the old format, so it was harder to piece together, was that Haziel sent these 4 legions, but then that caused the fire giants because he just like fucking injected them with his Haziel juice.
We're gonna
and
talk
it was
about
like,
that.
Like, what are like? Did he actually turn these legionaries into motherfucking Jotnar who were on fire and were like, or like, what the fuck was happening here? Please explain.
Yeah, we're gonna touch on that actually. The legions are like most likely a legion, like a Roman legion.
Okay, that's a lot of people.
So he sends 4 of them to Yggdrasil to bring it down,
and he shows up as well because he's not having any of this crap.
Like, not maybe in person, but like his will and his focus is there. And I'm assuming he sends like part of his personal celestial host there.
So
Like
you're
some of
saying
his,
that he sent his own avatar?
his own like sort of
his
sort of
own
small god.
upper divinity instead of a fallen divinity, his upper divinity.
Yeah, some of his divinities most likely went to help. But during the siege, he would pick soldiers and empower them with his power. He would fill them with faith. He would be like, "You got this, bro." And as we've shown, faith is power. And because
Literally high on faith.
it is power from the Pantocrator, the sun god, essentially, this god of fire.
A little high on Jesus.
They would swell into giant flaming pyres of humanity.
Oh, I love how that power corrupted them real quick.
And
That's
then
kind of metal.
they would then fight and destroy abominations or creations of the Aesir and the Vanir, who on their own terms were also like fighting desperately, using their own abilities. But part of the reason they had to do that was their Onionhar project never woke up. They didn't have their super soldiers.
Captain America didn't show up? No!
Because Loki, the one who had told Hosley about this, had killed Heimdall. But it wasn't a person. He had turned off the Heimdall protocols to wake up the Onionhar. Because it's not magic. It's not a person. It was technology. It's
literally just a fire alarm.
He killed Heimdall that did not wake the Onionhar, so they couldn't participate in Ragnarok in the end of times. The fire giants came, and Ragnarok came with them.
That is probably, to be honest, my favorite bit of Nord's lore is that the Arnharnal missed Ragnarok. That is like such a big slap in the face for everything of my knowledge, my personal knowledge of Norse mythology, that the Arnharnal missed it.
And all throughout it, Loki was trying his best to cause issues.
It's so good. It's so good.
And if I remember, I have not actually gotten a hold of the box, the campaign box. But the Firebringer, the man who is in the what is his name? I just know him as the Firebringer, but he is the new sculpt for the OD in the
the guy who looks like a pope?
Yeah, he is the one who infiltrated and set fire to Yggdrasil by being filled with fire from Haslia. He's the reason they won.
So, who was Loki more affiliated with, the Spires or the Weavers?
He was a Spires. I'm fairly sure he's a biomancer of some repute.
And is it Odin?
Odin was most likely a weaver of some sort.
Fuck, am I gonna get this lore
That's
pack
weird.
because I needed a second vulva? And she kind of looks rad with the antlers and long hair. And he kind of looks sick. Wait a minute. Hold on. Stop. I'm thinking.
I want that vulva.
Old Jeff Saskatoon Jeff, not Judge Worm Jeff, owns this motherfucker. He might have the vulva. I might have to buy this off him.
I'm gonna see if I can grab it, but he has I can't remember his exact name. Just the Firebringer is because that's what he did. He brought the fire.
His name is Here, I'll send it to you because I'm like kind of slurring my words now.
That's fair. But he released Haslia's power within.
Oh, we are. Please continue.
Within Yggdrasil and destroyed the computer. For the most part, we know.
Okay, I put it in general. You can read that.
Yeah. Andronicus the Firebringer.
Oh, it's nice.
And that throughout this fight, though, like both armies were taking their licks. The 4 legions were essentially defunct at the end of it. They were shattered. Whoever
that what happens when you have too many stands.
Yeah. The Haslia's pantheon that went up there to fight shattered. Himself, Haslia, because of the sorrow and dread and the pain that was caused, he came back shattered himself. Not physically shattered, but mentally.
It's because his mental stands had too many and they broke and shattered.
So even though he was successful in stopping the end of the world, essentially, he came back a broken god. And over the next 400 years, the Dominion would begin what is called the Fall.
Is that basically the undeadening?
We have to get to the fucking first.
Not yet. We haven't reached that part of the Fall. But the Fall was the decline of the Old Dominion. It was the enshittification of its infrastructure, its peoples, its populace, its religion, everything. It started to break apart. Elements of it. The 2, what were they called? Oh, I'm actually have to look this one up now. The city-states
and Sorcerer Kings, Nuala and Cleon. Cleon or Cleo? What the fuck is this douchebag's name?
No, Nunua and Cleon are fine.
I fucking hope so. He has an awesome job at the Sealed Temple. I know that.
We'll
get to that. We'll get to that in another episode.
Platon was the one who created the city-states. He saw the writing on the wall when Haslia came back and started to just disassociate with humanity. He would stop responding to prayers and pleas, and the Salazar had no power at that point, really. That was backed by religion. He still had military might, of course. But Platon started to gather information and a library's worth of knowledge and started creating the city-states in secret. He would take people and all sorts of resources with him. At the same time, mages of the different schools would be working on a project by what is I only know him as the Anathematic. But the Anathematic and his students started putting together a spell to kill a god. Because they could see the writing on the wall as well in what Haslia had in store. So as this time is going on, resources are being diverted from the Old Dominion. There are people fleeing the war that suddenly comes in the form of a Dweghom march. Like the Dweghom holds empty out and they start marching to destroy the exiles.
Yeah, fuck them.
And the humans that are in the way are just in the way, so they're going to destroy them too. This is a great time of conflict as part of the Fall.
One of my favorite parts about Dweghom is that when they declare a march, like they have 3 stages to quotes a march, and it's like a sortie, a march, and a campaign. And it's basically them emptying their hold and going to a new hold to like they're just going house shopping, except they don't like move around stuff. They just go straight to that location and desecrate everything in the way because they can't be bothered.
Basically.
And it's like it's such a nice little bit of lore of just like when the Dweghom go on a march, you might as well just like fucking clear everything out. And there could be hundreds of years where this doesn't happen and towns and settlements pop up and they don't realize that's an actual thing and where they are, and they just get destroyed because of it. And I feel like the 100K should really just be like, there's a hold here and there's a hold here, and draw a straight line and tell everyone not to build there.
But as as the Dwegum started marching and waging war on the exiles, they slaughtered Weaver Court, not holds, what are they called? Conclaves of Weaver Courts. Conclaves of Weaver Courts around them. They laid siege to different spires. And the first spire to fall since the dragons was Aberith. But during its siege, a race was released to defend it.
Oh, okay.
This genetically engineered super soldier race called the Wadroon. They were a project by the Spires of Aberith to create a vanguard race to take back their homeworld. They had...
I thought they were... Okay, my apologies for interrupting. I
No
thought the
worries.
Wadroon were initially made because the Spires experimented with humans, what made the Ironheart roll, and it didn't work out. I thought it was because they made the Dwegholm for the dragons, and it didn't work out, and they were like, okay, we need to make a defensive race that can do all our fighting for us so we can stop making Force Grow drones because they're bad.
No.
And they made the
No.
Wadroon from
The
that
drones
point.
are
I
the
didn't
superior choice
realize-
for that.
I didn't realize that they made the Wadroon to try and take back their homeland, but also earlier in this lore episode, the Sovereign basically took a sledgehammer to the portal and destroyed it.
He did. There's always been two contingents of Spires. The ones that wanted to stay, and the ones that wanted to find a way back.
Okay.
And the ones that wanted to find a way back wanted a vanguard force that could be functional and do everything they needed to do without support. In comes
They're
the
basically
Project
Space
Attack,
Marines.
essentially.
Sure fucking are. Now we just need to clad them in ceramite and put some purity seals
Oh,
on that bitch.
That'd be so fucking good.
You
Give me
imagine
some
Space
armor.
Marine orcs? Wait, we already have that. It's in Age of Sigmar. Ayo!
You mean Age of Hoslia?
Oh, Age of Hazza, the new game after like 40 years of Conquest, fucking Aya,
Matt?
Last Argument of Kings. They're gonna be like,
Matt?
fucking blow her up, baby.
Please edit that out. I don't want Stavros killing me next time he sees me.
I'm not editing shit. I'm too drunk for this. You're
But,
fucked.
The Aberith Spire was home to a lot of different projects, and the Wadroon were just one of the ones that was essentially always ongoing. They were very unsuccessful for a long time to create a good template, and they never were able to bring them to life, essentially, bring them to sentience. That was until 4 of them awoke with shards of each one of the horsemen inside of them. Conquest?
As a quick disclaimer,
Yeah.
just to clarify on some of the biomancy stuff, because this is like what I mostly know and care about. So like the difference is drones are essentially a mishmash of like different species from like wherever, and then
Drones are
clones
drones-
are just straight up clones of exiles that got through the Stargate. They generally are not very successful at just making life from scratch. Like they're bad at the it's like Full Metal Alchemist basically.
Yeah, the drones are usually like junk DNA that they smash together from their own selves. Like clones are definitely like literally just copies that can, at their own rate, become people.
So the drones though are specifically like defined as like they have DNA from species local to EA. That they're like, this isn't a real person. It's got non-exiled DNA in it, so like go forth and die.
Yeah, but they use the exiles as a base, and then they put that stuff in there.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like
get in the petri
it's
dish.
It's really funny because some of the drones that we talked about in the living world have started to gain sentience, which is why it's not Faded Magenta. It is Faded Magenta. Why he's disappeared from the living world, but he's also like got his own contingent of drones that can speak and function, which is kind of scary in its own right. But
Look, some people make friends, and some people make friends.
Exactly. But the four Wardrun that woke up were Conquest, Death, War, and Famine. They were essentially living gods on their own right, just not fully deified at that point. They got put to sleep and held on to, though, and lesser versions of them were made. So, as Aberth was laid siege to, they released the main host of Wardrun to, fight the Dwecom. The Spires were also fighting on their own front, but the Wardrun weren't doing so good. So at one point they decided, let's just release the Primes. Let's let them. We're gonna abandon this project. We got to get out with our own skin. We got to survive. This can be redone at some point. And they released the 4 Primes, and it was a noticeable change. The Primes started to absolutely wreck the Dwecom. And the Dwecom noticed the 4 Primes as great sources of Agam. To kill one of them was to be worshipped.
So, how did they figure out? Was it like they were like, okay, so the Prime has killed 300,000 Dwecom. That's an equal of 40 billion Agam. If I kill a Prime, I will then inherit their 40 billion Agam, will increase my social credit score so that I can buy a house and kids for and start a family. Like, is that how they calculated that, or what?
I think it has a lot to do with their connection with balance and the shards that are present and what sort of glory they might feel. Because I think Agam is actually a form of belief.
I'm not gonna lie, pretty buzzed right now, pretty drunk.
I know, but think about it.
But
If
whenever you refer to balance, I always refer to it as the skin, because that is the Earth's crust that is holding destruction in. And so I'm like, man, they're worshipping skin. Like, how fucked are you to worship skin and then try and get skin social credit score right now?
Well, that's the thing is why I think Agam is balance in its own way is because they sort of pseudo worship it and use it as a measuring stick for their entire culture.
Thank God the skin is doing work.
Yeah, but because balance is associated with the elements, they associate Agam with fire and earth and magma more than with balance itself.
That's fair.
So they could tell not like an approximate amount of Agam, but they could tell what sort of Agam they might earn by defeating great foes in battle. And when one of those foes has a shard in it, you just intuitively know that you would gain greater Agam from defeating a shard-wielding creature of some sort. And each one of the primes had a shard of a horseman within it. So, imagine what sort of Agam you may intuitively know a shard of one of the great horsemen.
So, if I killed the shard, because they're kind of like avatars, like the Avatar. I'm just Zukoing right now.
Yeah, they're like,
it's like if you kill a representation of an ideology or a thing or a concept, that gives you a lot of power. I watched, what the fuck was it, Sandman?
Yeah.
And there was Sandman battles Lucifer, portrayed by, I forget the actress's name, but she's the Brianna Tarth. Brianna Tarth is what I really know her as.
I watched that. I thought that was excellent.
Fantastic actress. By the way, whenever I see her and shit, I'm like, hell yeah. But their cosmic battle, because they're reality warpers, is literally them just trying to one up each other in cosmic duels. This is very similar to the Sword and the Stone Disney movie of when Merlin and that witch battled each other, where they were turning into animals and fighting, and then he turned himself into basically a sickness. And Sandman wins. Yeah, he basically COVID her to death. But he wins because he goes as hope. He's using positive ideologies and concepts to defeat her destructive concepts. What he eventually wins out with, because he fundamentally beats her at a thing that she cannot give up is the hope to redeem herself to go back to heaven and into God's grace. And what defeats her, what's really like a really good way to win a battle and thematically fits the characters, especially as reality warpers, because like us as humans cannot conceive what that would actually look like, and only in our base forms of what that would look like. By the way, I'm kind of drunk texting Carl right now.
That's
that
fine.
poor bastard.
But essentially, when the primes hit the field of battle, everything changed. The
Hell
Dweghom were frenzied. The Wadroon fought harder, and as time went on, the primes recognized that they were either going to be destroyed here, and their entire race wiped from the face of Ea, or they had to make a sacrifice. So war, famine, and death. They fought to keep the Dweghom in place and let Conquest escape with the majority of their people. And holy shit, did they fucking fight? And did the Dweghom, like, piranha them?
Do you think when they killed them, they were like, we will honor this corpse because holy fuck, this was awesome?
Yeah, I believe they did. I remember a couple of Decepticons ago. Go on.
I was just going to say, and this battle is what decided who is truly top tier.
Yeah, that's it. It's Dweghom. It's Ray Goons, you motherfuckers. It was always good. It was simple, easy. But, you had to use the fundamentals of the game to win, and my god, it was great.
It used to be Dweg, and that torch was passed to Wadroon.
To Thunder Daddy.
But I believe
Dear
they
Brian,
did,
good job on Thunder Daddy. He's getting drunk text too.
I believe they did honor the Wadroon they killed, though. The Prime specifically, because Stavros, a couple Adepticons ago, I asked him what happened with the bodies of the Primes, and he said they were left in place. Which, as time went on, Conquest would return to that place, to the shattered spire of Aberrath, in a new Wadroon city. The center of the Wadroon religion would be built, and temples to the primes would be built, and their bodies would be interred there. So I think they most likely did honor them in some way, because the bodies were still there, present.
You know what I like to think of, like war and famine and those other, I don't know what they're called, like primordial essences. I like to think of those as like the actual players. So like, you know, war would be Brian and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I can
force that motivates and animates the faction.
Yeah, but the Wadroon would escape and continue and go on to survive. But Aberrath, the spire, would fall. The Dweghom pulled it down with drakes and cannon fire and destroyed it completely. Which, you know, that would go on to create the oases later on that would help the Wadroon race. But a total of 3 spires were destroyed on the Dweghom marches during the fall. Because during this time, this is also when Haslia started to just go fucking nuts. And he tried to separate himself from humanity. People started fleeing the Dominion, going west, which would eventually become the 100 Kingdoms, it would become the Rus, it would become city-states, all of that. But Cleon and Nunua realized this and decided, well, shit, fam, we gotta protect our people and make sure that this guy just doesn't fuck around with humanity anymore. As they attempted to, though, the Anathematic and his Sorcerer Kings, his students, would literally pull Haslia and his Celestial Palace, his space station in the sky.
His castle in the sky from Studio Ghibli?
They would pull it out of said sky.
Oh, bitch, fucking bastard. Hazel, you're a dummy, can fight the sorcerer. I'm just rambling, please continue.
And there is actually a picture called The Fall that's on the lore website.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing.
If you look at it, there's a figure falling from the sky. That is Haslia.
So can
So
I
what you're
tell
telling
you
me-
something? Sorry, go ahead, Skillen. You first.
What you're telling me is that it's not impossible to get Skyfortress STL.
This is rubble.
Like, that's fine, but like, I want some advanced technology or whatever they have up there.
I don't know if it was technology, but it could have been like just God
So
stuff.
magic, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay,
But-
two things. I love now that I'm actually looking at this, not just at a glance, but actually focusing on it and really absorbing the art. You can see a person in that, because whenever I looked at this before, it was very much just meteorites.
Yeah.
When I'm gonna tell you something from like a year ago. So you know how I did that Little Dark Age video because I was bored and like that's actually kind of a song I like.
Yeah.
Side tangent on Little Dark Age. One of the big reasons that it's banned basically across YouTube is that it's used for fascism. What I discovered later on, but
Yeah.
became a huge problem of actually just uploading the motherfucker.
Yeah.
Is that I made it like the week before Adepticon, and I was like, oh, I should get practice it. No, I'll just make this fucking music video because I'm bored. I use in the beginning, it's kind of weird because I use the embodiments of creation, balance, and destruction, as well as like the four horsemen of famine, conquest, death, and war at the start of the video because it's like a build up to this conflict. And at one point, as you follow the words in the tracks, the fall is used, and so on. Like,
Yeah.
Like I kind of match the pictures and the artwork and like the models
Yeah.
to the song to try and like get the people to have that emotion. And I know that video never got like 1 billion views or anything like that. And also I never advertised it because it was very much something of like, I wouldn't necessarily a vanity project, but it's something more personal about the game and about the music and about the artwork and about the minis to attach to it.
Yeah.
I'm so drunk now that we're getting to philosophy.
That's okay. But,
So the fall part, I remember using in a very particular point in that video. Because I went through all of goddamn Parabellum's fucking artwork to get enough artwork and minis and shit for that fucking video. It ended up being like over 600 pictures.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. It was
Anyway,
really
please
good.
continue. I just had to ramble.
But yeah, if you could somehow post that, because I love this piece of art. It shows
Okay, I will.
like the manifestation of Haslea falling onto Capitas, the city that is at the center of the Dominion, the capital of the Dominion. Because the Sorcerer Kings ripped him and his fucking satellite out of the sky and brought him down to Earth. And the thing is, if he had hit without, like, if he had just hit, all life would be gone. It would have been an extinction level event. Everything would be gone. And Nanua and Cleon knew it. Nanua sacrificed most of her power to
You mean her
cushion the
tears?
fall.
Just
No,
her tears.
Not yet.
Oh,
Not yet.
fuck.
Her tears are important, but not yet. She sacrificed most of her power and her ability to do anything to cushion him from when he impacted, to stop the fall from destroying all life. But the problem is, when that happened, he didn't die as well. He was on the verge of it. And remember when I talked about how there was a prison that wasn't wars on Ea?
Yeah, an extra-dimensional prison for death who was outside the universe, on the edge of the known universe, outside of that, like Futurama style. But there was also a little bit of it inside of Ea, because they needed a way for death to actually do its job, but also not as, like, fucking awful that it originally was doing back in the War of Hosts. Yes, I remember that.
Yep. It was under Capitas.
Is that why, in the living world, Capitas is also called... Fucking load, you motherfucker.
It is the Necropolis, yes.
Necropolis. Yeah, I was getting there.
But Haslea fell, and as he impacted, he touched the prison of war, and he was in that state of death where you weren't dead, but you weren't alive.
The Schrodinger cat of a god.
Yeah, the Schrodinger cat of a god. And it allowed him to
Sucks.
pass through the prison.
Okay,
And
prison
touch
of
death.
death or prison of war? Because those are two different things. Because one of them is basically stupid as fuck. And the other
His
one
prison of-
is the
It was
super nerd.
his prison of death.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, so like Hazlia went into the prison?
He was able to reach into it as he impacted.
Okay.
Because he was
Just making
between,
sure I
like,
understand which direction this is going.
he was able to he was between life and death, but it was able to reach into the prison of death.
Gotcha.
And death reached back.
When you stare into death, the Death OC will stare back into you.
And what happened at this point is they became a single being. They
Really?
became the ungod. Because Hazlia is no longer a god. He's no longer alive.
man.
But he is no longer dead either.
Okay, I need to interrupt with a somewhat of a tangent, but it's on topic. There's a series by this guy called R. Scott Bakker. I think the general series is called The Second Apocalypse. It's a series of books. Brian and I are both like big fans of this, and like really the reason I like spires is because the spires are very similar. They're very similar analog to this species, I guess, or I don't know what you'd call them exactly, but these guys in there called the Inkoroi, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's pretty much the same thing. They crashed into Earth, or the equivalent of Earth. I think the world is even called ER or something like that, or it's Iarwa. There we go. And they did a bunch of biomancy and stuff. It doesn't matter. But the no god thing is literally like the central thing that brings about the second apocalypse in the books. So somebody has to ask Stavros like if he's read that, because there's so much stuff that like has direct analogs where I'm just like there's no way. Like this is not it is inconceivable that there's this much overlap without some knowledge.
It's possible. But as he becomes the ungod, this prison doesn't shatter. It just loses its ability to function. It has been weakened by the death of the dragons, which made it much easier for him to reach into.
Yeah, there's also no one to repair the goddamn thing because all the dragons are dead.
But what happens is it creates an explosion that makes the pyre, which is this massive pillar of fire within the center of Capitus. That is now like where Hazlia's will, I believe, is now in place. Because he sectioned off his will, becoming the ungod. I would have to verify that, but he's been split in two at this point. Like his will and his what is it? Because this is when all the really bad shit starts happening.
Yeah, it wasn't Spires related. Is that it? So here's
For
the
once,
thing.
it is not directly Spires related.
Fucking main protagonist bullshit. One of the things I do have to say about the living world is that you can pan over so much stuff and click on it and be like, here's a thing, but the moment you go to fucking Capitalist and you pan over it and the screen changes to basically someone writing gibberish on a goddamn piece of napkin, you're like, wow, do not go here. This place is absolutely fucked.
Yep.
No, it's fine. It's you problem.
So, as he becomes the ungod and the pyre is created, everyone who died, who had worshipped Hazlia, has now a connection of faith with him. The apocalypse is essentially happening. Fimbulwinter is upon the entire world. Ashes thrown into the atmosphere. The sun disappears. And now the long winter has just covered the planet.
Jesus Christ.
And now the dead
Holy
begin to
fuck.
walk.
Oh my god. They Thimblewintered and they had, oh my god. So good. Stravos. A tier. I'm not gonna lie. There are times in this man's storytelling and world building that I want to be like S tier storytelling, like world building. He does so much good goddamn work on this fucking game, its background, its world building, and to like get you interested in and what the fuck is happening. Here's the thing. I could easily see this pulling a 40k. 40 years of just built up story, world building, aesthetic. We'll call it, I don't know, is there a library in this fucking place they can use as their own black library? Like, there could be so much in this world that I'm so excited for as the lore expands and we see from more personal stories. We might even get the Space Marines eating their own toes.
Oh, just a bit that I just found it. I've been looking for it. But this is what Death's prison looked like.
You have a picture?
No, not a picture, but a passage.
Oh, okay.
Deep beneath the bowels of Capitas, main city of the Old Dominion, there was a massive lake of still black waters and unfathomable death. There, for centuries, the Dominion theocracy would bring its honored dead, at first crafting tombs along the shoreline, then expanding in crypts and catacombs beyond counting. It was there where Haslea's essence fell, and it was there that eons ago the dragons had sealed death.
Oh, so good. So good.
So, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I hope I get a spot to Worlds. I can hang out with Stravos on the beach and be like, yo, dude, fucking just make some books. Make your own little, like, Sorcerer King's Black Library or whatever you want to call it. Like,
I agree. I
would read stories in this universe because the fundamentals of, like, the foundation is really solid and also connects back into a lot of things that people already know. And one of the things when building, like, a weird world is you have to have a good foundation that people already understand. And Stravos does such a good job doing that. And it's like,
oh yeah,
fuck, man, I just want a story of, like, Billy Bob Thornton as a militia bowman fighting the wars of Neo. What the fuck is it called? Nepotism. Here, I'm just gonna copy that.
Nepenthe or whatever.
Yeah, I am too fucked up for this. Nepenthe, like that being a full 350 page book would be fucking masterclass as like a starter on this world. I would buy it instantly. Like, oh, it's so good.
If I can have those, mostly, I agree a lot with that. Mostly because the world isn't just unending war and death. It's a living, breathing world where peace is legitimately real, and not everyone's out to destroy everyone else. Like, the Dwegholm that don't march, they trade with the Hundred Kingdoms. The exiles, they're probably not real happy about them, but like the exiles trade with humanity as well. The Sorcerer Kings, city-states, and Hundred Kingdoms, all of them, they have a connection that isn't just, I want to kill you. This is politics.
Like, it's a place that you could actually see being realistic, what's really nice. Like, the big comparison is 40K, simply because of how big it is and how long it's been in the miniature wargaming space. Like, everything gets compared to it, and it's a giant. And it has portions of it that moves, and it has portions of it that does not move because it just literally cannot move itself because it's so goddamn big. Like, Stravos has here the perfect opportunity right now with his world building and his foundation to really go in a lot of directions and stories and do it really well. Like, I would love for him to get actually, like, authors to start writing in this universe and producing pieces of fiction for it that expand upon, build upon, and allow a connection into this world. Like,
Stavros isn't the only writer either. The Konstantinos does excellent work.
Well, tell that motherfucker to get to work here and start writing some fantasy novels. I'll read that shit.
I think like most of the character building is Konstantinos. Like the general arcing is all Stavros, but Konstantinos does the filling in a lot of the time.
Okay, good job, Konstantinos. I've never met this man, but like, good job on him.
The stuff that I really love is like the like, what's his name,
Faded Magenta.
Yeah, Faded Magenta. Like Faded Magenta's story arc is like really interesting, and what is it? The Alchemist is pretty interesting too, because it's like you see that he's like mostly like politicking with the Hundred Kingdoms, and then the Fractured Concourse.
Fractured Concord, yeah. Unfortunately,
Fractured Concord is fascinating. Oh, sorry, what's that?
We don't know. The Fractured Concord story is ended. We think he's probably dead. considering how.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, but we're not sure exactly. But also, we're not actually done yet. We're not done with the fall.
Keep hitting it up. I'm just nerd
Yeah.
spurging of how good this writing is and how good it attracts people. That's Cass. She had to leave. I just DM'd her.
Okay.
She DM'd me.
No worries.
So like I sent her. She's like, "Bro, I gotta drop." I'm like, "Do it." And she's like, "All right, good record. Have fun." I'm like, "Same, madam. Love you, friendship yet." Friendship
Okay.
style. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
No worries. But,
I also got a dip soon, so
That's okay. I'll keep Big Daddy Kang here until he like finishes off the fall.
we're almost at the
All
end of the fall. I just want to touch on a couple extra things.
Okay, thank you, Big Daddy Kang.
But as the fall had happened, the last Legion, who essentially becomes the Orders later on, had been escorting and keeping humanity safe by getting them to the west, across the Klostercene Mountains, which is this massive mountain range between the wastelands and the rest of the continent to the west. Cleon's was the patron saint of the last Legion, or the patron god, I should say, of the last Legion. And they were faithful and did what they were supposed to do, I should say. But as time went on, Haslia's undead started to attack this bastion that had been created along the Klostercene wall mountains, which would lead them to the rest of humanity, the people that were scared and trying to recover and create a new life. They repelled them the first time at great cost, because these are undead abominations, creatures that were just, like...
Are you telling me they don't take resolve damage and so it's harder to kill them?
Something like that. But these are creatures that had never been seen before. This is the first time the undead had ever walked, and will ever walk, I assume.
the first bone golems.
The first Bone Daddy.
Not yet.
Oh
shit, not even yet?
Nope, not yet.
Do we know what it was? Like what types of units it is, or
It's mostly just people, undead creatures.
Oh.
Just legionaries.
just the homies,
They're
just the
sending
boys?
trash at them.
These are just undead abominations that have wandered and coalesced. But as time passes, Dweghome arrive. These are the remnants of 3 Dweghome holds that have fallen in the fall. They don't know what's going on, but they are... Good night, kiddo. There's my son.
Tell your son we love him, not romantically, platonically. Fucking
But-
freak.
These Dweghome see the undead creatures, and they see the last Legion, and they have nowhere else to go. So they join forces and decide to build the wall to make it stronger and greater for a safer western side of the Klostercene Mountains. So now you have Dweghome, the last remaining peoples of these holds that have been shattered and destroyed by undead monstrosities during the fall. And the last Legion, a beleaguered human God. I'm just thinking about it, I'm like, oh, it's in my head. But they had been left for dead by their others, by their people, just to defend for them. And as they build the wall over the course of years, they prepare for what is inevitably about to happen. And when it comes, the second attack, it is not just a few undead, it is a tidal wave of undead that have come from Capitas. It is every sort of person imaginable, children, women, men, everything, in an unending tide that covers the ground and starts to climb the wall, just to lay siege. And then the actual abominations start to hit. What is essentially a meatball of bones, sinew, spikes, and muscle explodes out of the mass and begins to climb the wall and leave bone ladders up to the top. And these are just scything monstrosities that kill men with a flick of a tentacled covered in spikes. These things are monstrosities, truly. Somehow, they do fight them off and kill them and destroy them. I believe it was with Cleon's blessings, like Cleon actually taking the field to kill them and protect his people. But the undead continue to come up, and they climb these monstrous bone ladders. And this happens constantly over the course of days, weeks, months of battle constantly. And Cleon is just keeping his people alive, blessing them with his power. And some of them burn out during the fight. They just die. They fall over dead because there's too much God in them. They can't contain it.
Full of that God hussy.
Yeah, essentially.
Drenched in God juice.
Oh,
But-
should I have another beer? Let's crack her, baby.
But eventually the fighting does stop. And Cleon is left there with his last legion. And in like the most anime way possible, across like a dozen yard, like just out onto the plains of the wastes, there is this creature standing there, the ungod, the personification of Haslia's will. Just like
What did the ungod look like?
he's just staring down Cleon. Let me see if I have the like I have it right here. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Don't go away, kitty cat.
The cat has the unmaker. Oh, fuck.
It doesn't seem to describe it, but like the picture I see of it, it's just monstrous. It's something. But
Do you have
Cleon,
a picture of it?
I do not.
Or your mental
No,
picture?
It's in a book.
Oh.
What is it? All right. I got to be done here in a minute, so I'll be done in just a minute, okay? Get over it. All right. Sorry, I talked to my roommate for a sec.
Okay.
But Cleon challenges Haslia to a duel. Just straight up. Like, mano a mano. Your will against mine. And these two avatars of gods clash before the wall. And, like, it was strike for strike. It was a blinding battle. It's like two Jedi fighting. Like, just in armor. Just... Not
Two
just...
Jedi fighting in armor?
Was
Yeah,
it
just
like
not
Duel of the Fates,
not
but
like-
way cooler?
Yeah, it's like they were flipping and fighting and swords clashing, but like they're also using their godly powers and glowing brightly and or just covered in darkness and shadow. It's just and Haslia would like throw undead at Cleon, and Cleon would just like destroy them and with his might and things like that. But at one point, Haslia and Cleon clash together, you know, like the anime where they clash and they have swords pushed against one another, they're face to face. And in that moment, where's his name? I need his name. Oh, because
John Grammaticus.
what happens is a betrayal.
Oh, what? To Hasla or Cleon? Because Cleon's the boss. That guy is bro incarnate.
Listen, Leander.
Leandros? The game
No.
developer?
Leander,
Oh, okay.
the greatest lord that of the Legion left, asked a boon of his god and brought all of the faith from Cleon into himself and impaled both Cleon and Haslia at one time. He stabbed through both of them.
Oh, wow. Okay,
He pulled the gotcha bitch maneuver?
So he literally, so Cleon's fighting Hazel, and he's like, "Yo, Cleon, while you're fighting over there, and I'm having a sip of my martini, can you just fill me full of god juice so I can impale both of you at the same time?" And Cleon, busy fighting Hazel, is like, "Yeah, sure, bro, I'll quickly do that for you," and then gets backstabbed hard.
Here, I'll just read the passage for you. It's kind
Okay,
of
thank
long,
you.
but
That's fine.
We shall-
I need this.
we shall never know what the result of the duel would have been. motivated by the same ironclad dedication to duty that had seen him safeguard refugees across thousands of miles of hostile territory and defy a god. Leander stepped forward and called upon his god's grace. Long considered a paragon of duty and showered in the glory of 20 years of battle in the defense of humanity, when Leander called upon his grace, he drew deep, deep enough to weaken his god. Surprised and unexpectedly weakened, Cleon stumbled, and Hasley was upon him in an instant. Discarding his weapon, the ungod instead reached for Cleon with his clawed hands, pinning his opponent's limbs and drawing him into a tight embrace, turning the contest in one of raw strength and power, from which could be no one victor. As the ungod prepared to subsume his foe, Leander used his blade, the superior twin of the one Cleon himself wielded against the ungod, to strike the ungod in the only blind spot he could reach, through Cleon's own divine form. Driven by all the power and conviction he could muster, Leander plunged his blade through his god's back and into the dark heart of the ungod. For an instant, mortal man, god, and ungod were linked by the single act of violent betrayal, a frozen tableau of mankind's past and future, before the power of these primordial beings thundered through the crystalline lattices that suffused the blade and annihilated each other. Thus weakened, both gods were finally vulnerable to the blinding nature of adamantite, the physical embodiment of the power of balance, and the anathema to all creatures of primordial creation and destruction. Unfazed by the climatic events unfolding before their very eyes, the Dweghome never lost sight of the foe. The ungod had drawn upon vast reserves of his power, destroying countless of his own servants to achieve the concentration of power to incarnate. But he had not drawn on all of it, and countless undead vessels still stood, reverting to their earlier unguided behavior. Advancing in mass against the sun defenders of the Legion, it was only through the intervention of the Dweghome that the bodies of the divinities were recovered and brought into the Bastion. So that's how that duel ended.
Okay.
Two
I
gods.
need to speak. I need to speak here. So, I fucking love this. Like, in a fantasy romanticized way, because it sets up so much of how fundamentally modern Old Dominion works, because Haziel himself was absorbing all that power from his followers, what also translates to the game rules of the Fallen Divinity, absorbing all that power from its followers. Like, that's just fucking, that's absolute cinema. The Dweghome, because I know this takes place in the Sealed Temple, it's like on the map.
Oh, not yet.
Oh, because I know like these motherfuckers get entombed.
This is the Bastion.
Oh, where's
This is
the
the
Bastion
wall
on the map?
It's the wall between the Waste and the Russ. It's in the Palestine Mountains. It's in that video that the Wadrun come through.
Oh, okay, because I know the Sealed Temple is a location upon that mountain range between the Russ and the Wasteland, where I believe this battle has actually happened. Like that's the location
possibly.
where they are. Both Cleon and Haziel are actually sealed away because they're basically pinned in place by that sword, and they just pick them up and just move them in there and lock them away so no one can touch them, so they don't have a problem later on. That's my understanding of it.
Would you like to hear another thing?
Like a game theory? Ooh.
No, another passage.
I love another passage from Lord Daddy Kang.
This is called One Last Casualty.
Okay.
As the piling snow sealed the passes and the undead presence dwindled, the entire Legion was recalled for Leander's trial. He survived that. Establishing
nice. Also, fuck that guy.
Establishing the precedent and parameters of the trial proved especially challenging, as the relentless pressure of the defense of the Bastion had thoroughly undermined the old military character of the Legion's hierarchical command structure. Soldiers who had faced death daily for months in defense of mankind simply did what needed doing rather than waiting for orders. Cleon's own blessings further undermined the distinction between officer and soldier, as all of them now stood equally blessed in the eyes of their god. In the end, the decision was taken that each member of the Legion was entitled to a voice and a vote in determining Leander's guilt or innocence, for no other compromise could be reached. The Dweghome contingent was invited to sit in on the proceedings and speak, but was not given a say in the final vote, although their glowering presence undoubtedly influenced the vote of many. Despite the respect and bond shared by all surviving defenders, the debates that followed were acrimonious and deeply divisive. While the ultimate ruling was that Leander had acted in extremis, and that despite the hideous nature of his crime, his actions could not be fairly judged without taking into consideration the fact that his act had ended the existential threat of the ungod, the margin of the vote was very close. While the vote was respected, without consensus on this matter, almost half the Legion refused to follow Leander. Leander immediately stepped down as commander, unwilling to lead the Legion to destruction. But the act was too little too late. It quickly became evident that without Cleon to provide a single vision for the Legion, there was no longer any unity of vision. The Legion was broken. In an ironic twist, the last casualty of the Ungod's advance was the very Legion that had stopped it.
Jesus Christ, that's good.
I know, right?
Yeah, oh, fuck. Can I just DM Stavros and be like, your fucking lore is A tier, dude? Like, I'll fucking put it to S tier. Like, here's the problem with this lore.
Before you go, Mass.
Before I freak out, please continue.
Yeah. I must leave.
Okay, that is a
Yeah,
great
I also
ending.
have to leave.
Thank you for the lore episode. This was fantastic. We have the fundamentals of where we're at. I would love to bring you back on and go into more detail for each faction, what the fuck they're doing, all that stuff, because Conquest lore is actually really, really, really interesting.
It is, and I would be happy to.
Yeah, I would love to do another lore episode with you. Also, I'll probably get drunk again because, my God, it's
For
awesome.
Sure. But like I said, I do have to go. I've got to take someone to work.
Okay, and with that, we will end the episode. So thank you everyone for watching. Go to Golden Rhino Games, if I recall correctly.
Far Harbor Gaming. Far Harbor Gaming. Golden Rhino is a great store as well, but just come to Mission and come play.
Yeah, would lose in a knife fight to Far Harbor. Bother Cass on her Twitter and her secret Twitter. Watch BonkTable on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the other places. Our description for the Discord is in the link below. Skillen, sounds good. All right, everyone. Bye.
Bye.